Search is over, now welcome to First Mint. Looking for NFT content, look no further cause this is it. From Top Shot to blockchain, they got the data chops, analysis, and pack drops the show's equator hot. LG and Phil D, the best amongst others. Best brothers to happen to ball since the Ball Brothers. So settle in cause it's time for the best show. Ayo Quad, who we reppin'? First Mint. Let's go.
Whoa! Oh, we gotta get Los back on the show. I don't know where he is. Absolutely. We gotta get him back. We gotta get. You know what we could do? The song's super good, but the music is like licensed music that I just got. So you know what we could do? I wonder if people if we got him to make like an entirely new song and then minted it as an NFT and like gave it to the listeners. I feel like something like that would be super fun. We could do that in the future.
That'd be pretty cool, like an exclusive that nobody else
an exclusive has. Fresh track, no AI, or he could add some AI. You know, let him. I feel like he'd be into that. I feel like he'd love to like play around. Like he could take our voices and make them rap shit. Right?
Forget
like that would be hilarious.
No. Can we have a Drake collab with Los? Using AI. That's what I want to do.
It wouldn't last very long, and if we sold it as an NFT or minted as an NFT, we get destroyed. Yeah, sure, that'd be good press. At this point, like I'll take any press, right? So that would be pretty good.
You know, if that happened, I'd be like, you know what, Drake? I know where we can settle this. I will show up at your house. You will let me into your house. We will play a game of basketball on your basketball court, stupid court, and I will show you that those 3-pointers that you hit apparently every shot you take. No way. There's no chance. Absolutely
no.
I love
no way.
They always show him like balling out. First of all, the guys he's playing against are complete bums.
Yeah, they wouldn't show him not balling out. That's the thing. They wouldn't. Like, why would he let people post stuff of him not balling out? I kind of miss old Drake. I kind of miss when Drake seemed more like just an everyday guy. You know what I mean? Like not too young, not early, but like middle. When he was like maybe like Hotline Bling around, where he's like trying to do fun, weird stuff, but you know, he's got short hair. He's got his little cut in his hair, but it's like, okay, you're trying to be cool, but it's like you still kind of relatable. Now I don't know. It's he's huge, and it's almost like too big to be relatable. You know, at this point for Drake,
it's weird with Drake because I didn't realize how many people don't like him. But it's kind of like a love or hate. People don't. There's no in between
territory.
A lot of people don't like him for whatever reason. But he's kept a pretty clean image his entire career. Like he does not get in trouble with the law. I'll never forget when there was like a string of murders one summer in Toronto, like really, really bad, like gang wars and all that. And the chief of police comes on the news like completely enraged and calls out Drake. And I'm like, what? For what? What does he have to do with this? He's like, we need him to say something and stop this. I'm like, dude, for real? Like, you hold on. This is the chief of Toronto police blaming the gun violence in Toronto indirectly on Drake, not because he's associated with any gangs, but because he's not telling people to stop. As if Drake having some sort of press conference being like, listen, you gangsters, stop offing each other all summer. And you think they'd be like, oh, wow, yeah, Drake said that. I'm going to stop now.
That's the most racist thing, honestly, the police chief could have said. He's like, who's the most famous black guy I know from Toronto? Okay, Drake, it's your responsibility. It's like, that's terrible. It's
so ridiculous.
It's the police. It's your freaking job. This is not your Drake. Drake already did so much. You already made Toronto, like put Toronto on the map. Did the whole Raptors thing, has done tons. Like it's not up to him. Anyways, that's so off topic. That's so far off topic.
Yeah, we opened. Who thought we were going to open the show? Who had that on their betting card today that we would open the show?
That's
talking
what
about Drake addressing gangbangers in Toronto, telling them to stop shooting.
We should have a market for that. We should let people bet on like what the opening topic is going to be, but it's like we're not allowed to see it somehow. Like we have to make sure that we can.
Show.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. Everybody submits, but it's a secret submission. Like somebody else has to keep it, and we have to make sure that it's sealed so that we can't see. And then
I like that.
Somebody wins.
Nobody ever wins.
Somebody wins a shout out, or somebody wins like a free promo on the show someday, or something like that.
I like
during a live stream if we ever do that again. Anyways, Phil D, did you see like there's so much happened in sports, and I don't even know where to start with all of this right now. But what is like, you know, just to recap the weekend, like, and you know what's funny, Phil, is a couple weeks ago, you know, when this first round of the playoffs started for NBA and NHL, you told us on the show, you're like, you know what? Every year people say this is the craziest year ever. And then last week you texted me and you said, this is the craziest year ever. You said the same thing.
I did say that.
Do you still feel that way? Because, you know, as if the stuff in the NBA wasn't incredible enough over the weekend with the Bucks are out. The awesome Game 7, Steph Curry, legendary performance. A setup of Curry versus LeBron, Lakers, Warriors, and so many other goodies in the NBA. And on top of that, like the NHL comes in on a Sunday afternoon, drop kicks the NBA, and half steals the show with like a legendary Bruins collapse. Still has a Game 7 tonight for the Rangers and Devils. And also last year's Cup champs are out. The team that's been to the Cup 3 years in a row in Tampa Bay also out at the hands of the Maple Leafs. And you know what, Phil? The Jays are winning. So
I kind of don't know what to do with myself in terms of
probably the most exciting thing that you should know about out of all that is that in today's Candy's Play of the Week, there's finally a Blue Jays moment. It is the
I saw it, and I was gonna message you. I know that Meg is listening. It's Dalton Varsho. I saw it. And how could you not put them the way they're playing for sure? But in terms of the weekend in sports, LG, like honestly, this is the time of the year now that Easter is done where you have to find a way to clear your calendar for these weekends and basically have nothing to do because it is not easy, man. Right? Like that's a tough balance in life.
Yeah,
it's not right. I mean, if you're alone, okay, and you don't have a family and you just do whatever the hell you want, which I know there's a lot of guys who go, no, seriously, there's a lot of just crazy sports nuts out there that love living their lives, not married, not connected to anybody, no kids. They love to just watch sports all day, and that's all they do. It must be like a paradise for them. But the balance for other people who have commitments in life and who have significant others who don't want to watch sports in life, it's a tough balance right now because, you know, hey, Warriors and Kings on a Sunday at 3:30 p.m. for you at 12 p.m. right on a Sunday, right?
I want to watch p.m. on a Sunday, especially when it's like finally summer. That's the other thing too.
It's finally not football season. Yes,
it's not football season, but also like weeknights is like it's nice out. So it's like you want to do, even if you have a family, like you want to go to the take your kids outside and do something fun or just anything. Like go sit out back, just do anything. Go outside and enjoy the daylight. And especially like, you know, the reason I live out west is to do outdoorsy things and have access to the mountains. So it's a Sunday afternoon in the summer and it's finally warm in BC. And it's like I have to choose between doing something outdoors and watching Game 7 Warriors Kings is a tough one. That's a really tough one. Or even
it's the timing for me. I was like, okay, that game will definitely be at like 10 p.m. Eastern time at least, right? But it wasn't. And then in the morning, okay, so here's the schedule these days for those who don't know. We're not at the point of the year where it's just baseball. When it's just baseball, who cares? Okay, you can catch your favorite team, but it is what it is. You're not gonna skip any sort of beach outings or any of that to watch.
No, you bring your little radio and you listen to it on the radio. Yeah, that's the classic. If you love baseball, that's the classic baseball thing. You're out wherever you are and you just have it playing on the radio and it's just in the background. And it's nice.
But if you're a true sports fan or a hardcore sports fan right now, you've got things like F1 races at 9 a.m. Okay, then followed by Premier League soccer, whatever soccer you follow. It's always before 12 o'clock on the East Coast. Okay.
Of course. And
then, of course, they throw that Game 7 at us at 3 p.m. Eastern, followed by 2 NHL Game 7s at 6 p.m. and like 9 p.m. And I'm just
that was perfectly lined up yesterday, right?
It really was, man.
Yeah.
And then the Jays are sprinkled in there. It's like, man.
What was the other NBA game yesterday?
There was none. That was the only. Oh, that was it.
No, there was Game 1, wasn't there?
The Heat and the Knicks.
No. Yes.
Okay. No.
Is it yesterday?
That was the only game then yesterday. There was only one game on the menu. I'm sure of it.
It was Heat Knicks. Yeah, right.
It was Heat Knicks.
Yes, it was Heat Knicks. So it was Heat Knicks at like 12, and then Warriors at 3, and then the NHL games. NHL was like, let's make sure these games are after the NBA slate.
Well, the NHL LG has a dream game tonight. So they cleared the deck. There's no other games. They've got a Game 7 between the New York Rangers and New Jersey Devils in their own backyard, the NHL office's backyard. And I can guarantee you that the league wishes this was the Stanley Cup Finals because right now in the next round you've got a Seattle-Dallas matchup, which is a complete nightmare for the NHL. Nobody's watching Seattle-Dallas, no matter what.
Well, hold on. I will say Seattle's their latest expansion franchise, so I will say they're happy. They're happy when the expansion teams do well, and they have done like it's Vegas too. Vegas did well first couple seasons.
Vegas is different. Vegas
I know
is
it's
like
different.
a spectacle, man. Seattle it's exciting, but Seattle doesn't have any star players, and the league cares about that. Trust me. But the league right now, it probably had a meeting this morning. Now that the Toronto Maple Leafs, for those who don't know, and if you don't listen to our show, we've only mentioned it 1,000 times, but they had not advanced to the second round of the playoffs since 2004. That's how significant their win was on the weekend. And I'll talk about that in a bit. But right now, the NHL offices 100% had a meeting this morning in a scenario where the Edmonton Oilers, which again, for those who don't know, Edmonton is a city in Canada. The Edmonton
where
Oilers,
Wayne Gretzky played and won most
if you don't
of
know,
his Stanley
but they only
Cups.
know he played for LALG. That's why I say
but
that.
He never won in LA, and he also played for the Rangers, and he also played briefly for the Blues. But his most prolific time was in Edmonton on the Oilers. Okay.
So there is a possibility that the Edmonton Oilers meet the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
If you don't follow hockey, why that's a problem? Because almost nobody in the United States of America would watch that series. And the NHL knows this. Okay. So I am fully ready for the bullshit to start on either side of that bracket real soon. It actually started in the first round with the Leafs when they suspended Michael Bunting for 3 games for something that's, if we're being honest, it's suspendable maybe 1 game what he did. Okay. And he's a top 2 line player.
There were so many other similar calls in the
tons of
first
stuff.
round,
Guys
man.
sticking
There's
each other in the face
so
left and right,
many,
no suspensions.
Yeah, there's so many sketchy things that happened in the first round.
You know, but something's going to happen. So that matchup's never going to happen. And for a bit more context, the Toronto Maple Leafs, forget winning a playoff series, they've actually never made the NHL Stanley Cup Finals since 1967. Like which
is the last time they won. And that's for context. Again, I'm assuming for people who need to be caught up on why the Maple Leafs have been such a sad franchise, especially the last 20 years. They haven't won or made the finals since 1967 when there were only 6 teams. Okay. The NHL expanded I think the year after the NHL expanded in 1970. But when you hear the term original 6, that's what it means. It's Toronto, Montreal, the Rangers, the Blackhawks, the Bruins, and who's the other 6? Who's the 6th?
The Red Wings.
The Red Wings. Yeah, sorry, Detroit's so relevant now, but they were very good for a long time. But the Red Wings as well. So that's the original 6 NHL teams, and the Leafs have not made the final since there were only 6 teams, and now there are 31 teams. And for a while, at the end of the 90s, early 2000s, the Maple Leafs were very competitive. They were looking good, very competitive. A lot of good players in their prime, went to the conference finals twice in 3 years. So we're looking very good, but then they lost to Philadelphia in the second round in 2004. And then there was an NHL lockout that ended, that there was no season after that. And then the NHL came back with a revamped game where they added a salary cap. They added, they tried to remove all the obstruction. The game was too slow, add more scoring, which both things screwed the Maple Leafs, mainly the salary cap, because the Leafs were kind of like the Yankees where they just outspend a lot of other teams. And as a result, the Leafs have been to the playoffs, missed the playoffs for 10 straight years, and then started making the playoffs. Had a terrible collapse in 2013 against Boston. And then this was their 6th year where they couldn't get out of the first round 5 years in a row until this year.
Well, they had been 0-12 now in closeout games, the last closeout games. Okay, with this current group of overpaid superstars.
That's right.
Where nothing's going on. Now, kind of off topic. Now, if you watch the NHL playoffs in Canada, the broadcast group is always different. Every year, it's different people on that panel between periods. It's not ESPN. ESPN has a bunch of Canadians, but it's not the same content as on the Canadian channels. Now, there's this guy that appeared at the beginning of the playoffs, and he bothered me from the minute he started talking. And in my chat groups, I refer to him as the bald fuck. Okay, over and over again. So, and then I made a comment in my guys' hockey chat that, the bald fuck looks like the guy from Sex and the City. And I got absolutely destroyed for even knowing anyone from Sex and the City. Okay. That's one. But if you pull up his picture, LG, I didn't know this until somebody said,
I don't even know who you're talking about.
He's actually the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh.
And I had no idea.
Are you talking about on Hockey Night in Canada? Or are you talking about ESPN?
Yes,
oh, yeah, that guy.
On Hockey Night in Canada, on whatever it's called now, since you can't call it that anymore now that Don Cherry's out of the picture. I was just
Derek Lalonde.
Okay, pull this guy up. This guy is like,
oh my god, this is rare where Phil just wants to go on a hate rampage for somebody. But here we go. Derek Lalonde, we need some kind of anthem for like a Phil hate rampage.
Let me tell you.
Okay, here we go.
Okay,
here he is. Here's Derek Lalonde.
Freak, man. Like he comes on. Okay. Listen, they're treating him like a god on the panel, and I didn't know who he was. So I'm like, who is this guy? And in one game, the Edmonton Oilers are down 3-0 after the first period. So one of the panelists says, hey, so-and-so, bald guy, should the Edmonton Oilers put in their backup goalie, Jack Campbell? And his answer was absolutely not. Okay? 5-minute commercial. They come back. They say Jack Campbell is starting the second period for the Edmonton Oilers. Long story short, the Oilers came all the way back from 3-0. Jack Campbell was fantastic. They won the game. And I'm just like, see, hold on a sec. This is an NHL coach. Okay. He's on as some superstar panelist guy all of a sudden. He looks like the guy from Sex and the City. He is preaching and begging that they do not put in their backup goalie. The coach does it anyways, and they end up winning the game and the series ultimately. So, anyways,
Huge
back on track now. The Toronto Maple Leafs, LG, you know this because you're friends, and we used to all hang out together. The Leafs winning in the playoffs was a culture for us from as far back as we can remember, really.
Yes.
In terms of
even in one of my group chats with my buddies from that era, they're already asking if we're going to your basement for the next game, which is what we did 20 years ago.
We'd all cram into one basement.
And hold on, Phil. For anybody who wonders what that basement used to look like,
here we go.
I have a photo. So for anybody, so again, I talked about the Maple Leafs having a prolific stretch,
Captain Crunch.
And as a result, Phil and I were huge fans, especially Phil. And Phil was actually featured in a newscast about hardcore Maple Leaf fans. And I don't have the video, Phil. I just have screenshots.
If you're listening on like Spotify right now, you need to head over to the
YouTube.
God.
Yeah. Okay. So here it is.
How did we watch?
So this is, and I'll describe it for anybody on Spotify. I'll describe it. This is clearly it's like it's a TV console that people only had in the 90s. So it's like a black TV console that fits a big round TV. It's not a flat TV. It's just a little round TV. It has CDs on the left side. And then everything else on the console is decorated Maple Leafs. There's mugs. There's a makeshift Stanley Cup. There's a giant Leafs flags. There's jerseys hanging. All this memorabilia. There are balloons that are numbered on the wall for how many times the Leafs need to win the Stanley Cup.
Oh man!
So this is from.
There was a sick bay too that's not pictured here for all the players that were injured. We'd light candles for them. And
then here we go. And then here he is, the man himself. A photo of Phil from that newscast where he's blowing into some kind of vuvuzela, if you remember that from the World Cup 2010, I think, which vuvuzelas existed before that. He's wearing a white Maple Leafs jersey. He's got a blue and white fro wig with a helmet on top, and in the background are a bunch of you know what it looks like? It looks like those presentations you had to make in like the 10th grade, like those, those cardboard things that would open out. You just like cut images out of magazines and put them up as your presentation. That's what it looks like. But for every game that the Leafs had played up until that point.
Look at that Captain Crunch.
Who's Captain Crunch? Yeah. So there's a giant newspaper clipping that says Captain Crunch. It was Darcy Tucker.
Yeah. Someone killed somebody.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah, that was back in the era where like it was just normal in a playoff series for a team to purposefully say they're gonna hurt a guy on the other team and then do it, and it was totally normal. Like they just let's go injure somebody, and everyone was like, "That sounds good." NHL was like, "That's part of the game," and it would just happen. And
this was also the pre-internet era, kind of, where you had to like get newspaper clippings.
Yeah, there's no Facebook or anything
box
back
scores.
then, man.
Man, wild time. So basically, again, a bit more context here. We used to get together, and I'm not exaggerating, maybe 30, 40 people per game from all ages. Okay. All our friend groups, even though LG and I are 5 years apart, we'd have all our friends.
We're 4 years apart.
Are we? 4 years? Whatever. I always say 5. I don't know, man.
What the hell?
Same shit now. And we'd all get together and we'd get blasted before the game. We'd all play hockey outside. One net, 30 people. Everyone just swinging sticks trying to score the one ball on the goalie. Okay, there would be basically no goals ever because 30 people swinging away at the same ball is a disaster. The period would start, everybody would run in, and when the Maple Leafs would score a goal, there would be the biggest pileup. That was the funnest part for me, was piling up on top of each other, all 30 people, and the pileup would not kind of do itself for a good, like at least 20 minutes. You
like
couldn't
like
get
sometimes
people,
like another goal would happen.
more
Like other stuff would happen in the game, and we'd still be like there'd be like a mess, like somebody be passed out from like having too many people on top of them,
and you'd be down to like ripping the last 2 or 3 people off. And you're right, LG. Another goal would happen, and all hell would break loose. And it was the same routine every time. The period would end, people would run for their lives to get back outside, and the hockey game would restart again on the street. Somebody would yell out the next period is starting, and then everybody'd run back in. And when the Toronto Maple Leafs would win a series, everyone would jump into their cars, head downtown, and just go ballistic with the rest of the city. Even though, again, we haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967, we celebrate every series win like we've won the Stanley Cup pretty much. And that actually happened for the first time ever in the last, 19 years now, on the weekend. And I don't know if you saw some of the videos, LG, but there were some kids like ripping street signs off. I saw some kids giving us a piece of a TTC shelter. They were trying to give it to us. It was like a big piece of glass.
TTC's the subway is like the transit.
The bus. They had like broken the shelter and trying to give us a piece of the glass. I'm like, no. And then we ran into like kind of a mob at one point. And I'm like, this crowd's rowdy. They're like rocking our car and shit. Okay. And one guy puts a flag on the front. I'm like, that's cool. Then so
you went downtown. This is from you going downtown on Saturday night after the Leafs.
After they won.
After the Leafs won. After the Leafs won Game 6 and exercised their playoff demons and moved on to the second round. You're describing the party in downtown Toronto.
Well,
for anybody who wonders what that might look like and what Phil and his kids might look like when they are downtown, here's a video posted by a stranger on Twitter that if you're watching this, or I'll describe it to you if you're listening on audio, it's a white SUV in standstill traffic downtown Toronto, and here we'll have the audio as well. As a bunch of people wearing Maple Leaf stuff hanging out of the car going totally berserk. Here we go. Let's take a look.
That was just the beginning of it. That wasn't even, you couldn't even get to the downtown part of Toronto. We were stuck in that traffic.
And hold on, there's a lady who comes over and takes a photo of you guys at one point. Did you notice that in the video? Hold on, here comes
maybe not.
Some lady. Here we go. There's some lady taking a photo of you guys as well.
Oh, you have no idea how many people took pictures, because if you think about it, if you haven't lived in Toronto in the last 20 years, you don't really know what this is all about.
You know what happens. I mean, it was kind of like Toronto hyped up for the Raptors, of course, but Raptors was more like a nationwide movement. People were watching it outside. And like, listen, basketball has been king for a while in Toronto because the Raptors were prolific for a while and won. And also because the Maple Leafs were such a letdown every year, right? It was so bad that it's like, hockey in the heart was still more important. But in terms of like, what have you done for me lately? Basketball really took over. But and also basketball was a national thing. Raptors are the only team in Canada, so that makes all the people who hate Toronto in Canada make them totally okay with cheering for a Toronto team. Whereas when it comes to hockey, they will never cheer for the Maple Leafs. But that's a different story.
I just have to tell a couple funny stories that happened to us. Okay, and I'll tell them real quick. So first of all, that video was taken by Faisal Kamisa, who's a sports anchor here in Toronto. And I actually recognized him on the side of the road, like mixing in with. That's a rough part of Toronto around there. It's a little. It's close to Yonge and Dundas, but it's a little bit north, and things can get really dicey around that specific area there.
Where Zanzibar, the strip club, is.
Yeah, it's right there. So, and he was kind of hiding between these two doors, and he was filming. I'm like, hey, that's Faisal, but I didn't remember his name. So I'm trying to tell my son to look, and I go, what's his name? Is this a guy from Sportsnet? He follows me on Twitter. I follow him. I know who he is, but I couldn't remember his name. So I go, just yell out Sportsnet. And my son yells out Sportsnet at some like big white dude walking by. And I'm like, so later I'm like, dude, is that him? Like, that's him, right? He's like, no, I yelled at a white guy walking. I'm like, okay. Anyways, wrong guy. So he screamed Sportsnet in some guy's face. And the guy was probably like, the hell? So, so we continued on. We did, as you can see, my son and my daughter are hanging out of the car. My son's out the sunroof. My daughter's out the side. We only did that in the spots where we couldn't move because it's kind of dangerous to drive with you move. But we did run in. We did go closer to the actual arena. And that's when we ran into kind of the more aggressive cops that were kind of trying to do crowd control. And one of them charged for our car. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, here we go. I'll never forget. You know him really well. Our good buddy, John Abbott. He got a ticket for hanging out in my Pontiac Sunfire.
Yes.
Years and years ago.
Classic. Yes.
And he went on to become the Vancouver Canucks play-by-play guy. So he still had a good career. But you don't want to be getting a ticket for something like that. No. And they were hanging out the sunroof, and the cop sees it. He walks right up to the car, I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, guys, get back in. They get in. And he's like, don't do that. I'm like, okay. but technically, my son, your nephew, still had his seatbelt on around like his ankles or like around his waist a little bit while hanging out of the top of the car. So I'm like, technically he was okay. But at that point, I don't remember. So that's one thing that happened. Another thing that happened, I'll save the best for last. When we got close to that mob scene. So the later you go on in the night in Toronto, it gets dicier. The people celebrating, the real fans and the real kind of safe fans and the quiet ones are out early in the night and then they go home.
Yeah. And then the troublemakers get there about halfway and they stay and they wait to see if like some people start lighting cars on fire and stuff like that. And just for everybody to
getting close to that. Yes.
Yeah. And for some context, just generally like how Canadian people celebrate hockey, specifically hockey. Raptors won downtown Toronto, no incidents. I was down there. Phil, you were down there.
There was like, one cop car that got like bashed in by some yahoos.
Yeah, the one person, but there was nothing on fire. And I was in that crowd and I was like, this is kind of crazy being in a giant crowd, but it was fine. Hockey, though, when a team wins one round of the playoffs, especially when it's Toronto or Montreal, the people go freaking berserk. I lived in Montreal when they had like a couple interesting playoff runs. And after I think they beat like the Ovechkin Capitals in round one, massive upset. And immediately people were like fighting cops in the streets and stuff like that. And some of the cops were into it too. Like cops are also like hardcore. Like the only thing that's more important than their job for cops in Montreal is hockey, right? So it's pretty chaotic. And also, for some history, Vancouver, which is near where I live, is the home of not one, but two insane hockey riots, both in 2011 and in 1994, both of which came at the hands of Vancouver losing Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, which made the city go completely berserk. So just so you know, like the cops in Canadian cities are very aware, whether win or lose, that hockey fans will stop at nothing to celebrate in an aggressive way. Let's put it that way.
So I know that, okay, so a couple of videos went viral after the whole thing, and it was of one kid trying to rip a street sign down. Did you see that one? He had like a Nylander jersey, and he tried to rip off the sign of the Bremner Street. Okay, he was like tugging at it and trying to rip it, and it wouldn't come off. And the crowd was egging him on. He was trying to rip it. And the outrage that I heard about that of that incident, I'm like, are you guys okay? Okay, couple things. Yeah, there's always going to be idiots that do this kind of stuff, no matter what. Okay, those guys kicked in a bus shelter. They broke the glass, tried to give us a piece of the glass as if it's like some big, piece of history we want to freaking keep with us. I'm like, no, keep walking. Right? I'm not taking that. But people are outraged as if we set cop cars on fire, as if people tore down the entire city. But that's nothing. First of all, there's kids out there that will always not know how to act. I saw so many minors walking around with open containers. I'm like, okay, I know the cops are busy tonight because they're not in Toronto. You usually don't get away with that stuff. I've had tickets for the stupidest things in this city because you have cops hiding as undercover, like students. Even at one point, I did a tailgate party once for TFCLG, and we were drinking alcohol, and we had a group come sit with us to eat our burgers, eat our fries, all the food we were making, and then an hour later they pull out their badges. They're like, "Yeah, you guys are drinking." I'm like, excuse me? Are you serious? You just
entrapment.
You just ate all our food, dude. Like, are you guys for real right now? Okay, fine, give us a ticket. Yeah. Anyways, but kids will do stupid things. But the jubilation of not winning for that many years. I mean, of course, people are losing their minds, right? So, anyways, the longer you go in the night, it gets really dicey. So we hit this one corner, and it's the corner of the infamous Kawhi picture. You know the Kawhi picture with the crowd in the background on the bus? It's right on that corner. And for some reason, all the drunks gather there and they want to do stupid things. So the guy blocked our car, put a flag on it, which is fine. Then he picks up the biggest construction cone he can find, like those, not the cones, like the big pillars. And he puts it on the hood of my car.
I mean, those giant cylinders.
Those giant cylinders.
Sometimes you're driving down the highway and some of them have been pancaked. Like somebody stepped on it like it's a Mario character, like a Mario villain. It's been like pancakes, and you're like, how did that happen?
And he puts it right on the hood. I'm like, okay, this is a mob scene. All right, everyone's sticking their arms in our car. Like every high five is disgustingly wet. Okay, most guys are actually missing my hand for high fives and slamming the car instead. I'm like, yeah, that's enough of this. So I'm like, I just have to move. I'm gonna leave the cone on. So I fly around the corner around the mob scene, and I get around the corner. I'm like, okay, this is hilarious. We're all laughing. But if I leave this cone on my car and a cop sees this, You know exactly who's getting the blame for this, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that'll be the
Angels driving, bunch of points off your license, your fault.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely.
So I find the nearest Leaf fan I can find without getting out of the car, because I don't want to get out with the mob scene. And I'm like, dude, can you just take this off my car? And being the most Canadian person ever, I thought he's just going to take it and launch it, because that's the mob scene. That was it. He takes it, walks like 20 steps, and gently puts it down on the sidewalk. And I'm like, thank you very much. Anyone else would have picked it, like pile drived it into the ground. So as a grand finale, LG, when the cops finally shut everything down, because they really took care of business early. They didn't want it to get out of hand. And they have a lot of experience now after the Raptors, kind of with crowd control and what they need to do. And actually, they did a really good job. They cleared things real fast. They didn't let the party go all night. On the way down, Mom and Dad, I know you're listening, and I did kind of mention this to you, but I made sure that when we were passing their house, they live on Yonge Street, the longest street in the world, and the street that leads right to downtown Toronto. I made sure to lay it on the horn an extra like 20 seconds. Wait, on the way down. Okay. We did look for them on their balcony. I did not see them. So we're like, you know what? We got to keep going. We can't miss the party. We have to get down there. And on the way back around 1 a.m, I once again laid it on the horn for at least 20 seconds right by their house. Okay. All right. This is a big revelation. Now, I asked them the next day if they heard it, and they absolutely heard the honking. And I thought they'd be like, what the hell? You were the one honking like that? You know what Dad actually said? He said, you should have called us and we would have come out on the balcony. And he said that we deserve to make that kind of noise because it's been forever.
Wow.
So they had no
Our dad is not a Maple Leafs fan, for anybody who wonders.
At all.
Dad is not a Maple Leafs fan. He's a Montreal Canadiens fan. Okay. And it was never really like a conflict in our family, though, because in the mid 90s, both teams freaking sucked, honestly. So it didn't actually matter. And honestly, the Toronto Montreal rivalry is kind of there, like in spirit, but neither team there was one playoff series a couple years ago, but the Leafs should have won and collapsed, but that was more a Leafs thing than it was a Montreal thing. But it's a rivalry that'd be great if it existed, but it doesn't. It honestly doesn't, other than in Canadian lore. But otherwise doesn't matter.
But I have to say, it was experience of a lifetime, to be honest, to be able to do it with my kids, which are huge Leaf fans and have actually never experienced this. Like my son turns 19 this year, LG, and he had never experienced this as a big Leaf fan his entire life. And
in that news report that we just shared screenshots from 20 years ago, the part where they interview your wife, they talk about how she's pregnant and be like, we got a future Leafs fan right here.
it was pretty wild in that sense. And that was, man, I still can't believe it's been 20 years, because it was a yearly thing for us to party like this.
It's like our entire adult lives. It's like literally our entire adult lives, that there was not even like literally a series, a playoff win. And honestly, I didn't even know, like my feeling right now, Phil, is like, I didn't even know what to do. Like, I didn't even know how to feel.
Same
like
here.
It was like relief, but it was, and I was very happy, of course. But at the same time, it's like the next day I'm like, there's more games, like we keep playing, and now
we don't know how that's like.
One of the only 8 teams, like, and now the Vegas odds, the Leafs are favorites, and like the only thing that's held them back in the past, which is because the Leafs have been very good for a couple of years now, and have a really great young core. The only thing that's held them back is this bizarre playoff ghost curse that made no sense, and now that that's gone, I don't even know. I'm like, the idea that it's actually possible for them to win another series or even go all the way is something I haven't even really processed it, Phil. I'll be honest with you. Like, it has something that I haven't even, it goes so deep and it's so long ago to feel that way, that it's something that I think is going to take me a couple days to actually process properly. And then I watched the Boston game last night as well. And then to see them lose in a way that they've made every other team lose so many times in the past, like Boston teams in general, credit to everybody who's Boston fans and their teams, and I do as well, but credit to like the spirit of sports teams in the city. If there's any team in any league that when they're doing well and the team is good, that you cannot count out of any game or any series, it is the Boston, any freaking team. The Patriots for a long time with Tom Brady. The Red Sox, like, remember when they won in 2004 for the first time in a million years? Didn't they come back against the Yankees from like a 3-0 deficit or something like that? Like, and the Bruins are 1000% that team that has terrorized the Maple Leafs and many other teams in the Eastern Conference for well over a decade with absolutely crushing defeats. And obviously the Celtics have different points of proliferation, all still, now favorites to win the championship.
They probably will, just because Boston doesn't take a year off ever. In
Totally.
any sport,
but to see the Bruins lose in a way that they have beat other teams time and time again was satisfying, and also it absolutely unbelievable for us as Leafs fans that now we play the Florida Panthers in the second round, who like barely made the playoffs, and now to play them is also kind of insane.
The stars are kind of lining up here for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and like you said, LG, we didn't know what to do with ourselves.
Are you getting too far ahead of yourself?
No, but I'm not though, because
you know what I mean. Like I don't even know. Yeah,
like everyone assumes, okay, they won that first playoff series in 20 years. Now that's it. We're good. They're just going to crash out soon. That's it. They don't have, but that's not how it works. When you break through such a roadblock and an obstacle, it's kind of like the sky can be the limit into what the team can do.
Well, we don't even know what they're capable of. We don't even know what kind of playoff team they are,
because it's never been the focus.
Far, the only playoff team has been that they freaking get a huge lead and collapse. Like that has been, they haven't been a playoff team. That was literally the narrative, that they are not a playoff team. Now they are. So you literally don't even know what this team can do. And all the other teams that are like perennial title favorites are gone.
Yes.
Boston is gone. Tampa is gone. Even for the final, Colorado is gone. Like even in the Eastern Conference, they're going to play the Panthers and then have to play either the Rangers, Devils, or Carolina Hurricanes, like other young growing teams, but also teams is like none of those teams, their cores, none of those teams have been to the Stanley Cup Finals in this current era of that team. So it's really kind of crazy.
We're running out of teams here without $10 million players on them, because I've always said that stat. A team with a player making 10 million or more has never,
which is a lot in the NHL, just so everybody knows. It's not a lot for other leagues.
That's pocket
but
change
in the
for
NHL,
an MLB reliever.
NHL has a salary, a pretty hard salary cap, right? There's no luxury tax or anything like that. You have to be within the cap. So, and what's the typical salary cap, Phil? Like 85 million? 90 million?
I think it's less than that, man. I don't think it's that high.
Really?
I don't know the exact number right now. It's going up soon, but
yeah, well, let's just take a look. Just to give everybody context on so the salary cap is 82.5 million.
Okay, you had it right on. Wow.
If your entire team, and a hockey team has 4 lines of forwards, so 12 guys on offense, and 3 lines of defense, so 6 guys on defense, and then an extra that usually maybe is a 7th defenseman or an extra forward, plus 2 or maybe 3 goalies on roster. So that is, I don't know how many players are that, like 22 guys or something. What's a normal NHL roster? 22, 23 guys.
Typical. Yep.
And that has to be split out over $82 million. So an average, so average salary of your players has to be $4 million each. So for a player to get $10 million, like that has to be a really special player. And Phil, the point you're making is that no team has won the cup with a player making $10 million
ever. Like in history of the league, it is. I know, obviously, the salaries weren't the same.
Yeah,
10
Wayne
years
Gretzky
ago.
got paid $1 million in his heyday.
But teams like the Boston Bruins have about 4 players that could be making 10 or more somewhere else. But they've actually stayed together as a group, taking pay cuts because they want to win. Now, that's right. The only teams left without players that are making 10 million or more are the New Jersey Devils, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Dallas Stars, I believe, and Seattle has to be one of them as well. There's no way those guys are making 10 million or more. But Vegas has a player making 10 million or more. The Leafs have 3 of them. Of all things, they have 3 of them. They have the most in the NHL
making
by far.
$10 million a year.
No one else even has 2, I believe. But anyways, the Leafs have
2
3.
players and 2 players making 7.5, and 1 player making 7, and 1 player making 6, another making 5.5.
And everyone else is peanuts.
I know. The goalie makes $1.8 million a year.
The goalie actually said that his wife was awakened by all the noise in downtown. He's like, we live in downtown Toronto. And like, I haven't been around the city for long, but my baby was woken up nonstop that night. I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about that. When I was honking like a maniac, I literally broke the horn on my car. I could hear, like, I could see people in their windows, like people who don't like hockey. They're all looking down like, LG, you remember that? We actually had somebody throw an ashtray at us from like 20 floors up one time because of all the noise. It hit my car. Like, no joke.
I just remember.
So no team has ever won with a player making 10 million or more. And there aren't too many left right now that don't have that. So it's pretty interesting. If you're into placing bets on futures and stuff, that's something to keep in mind. Although I do think that will come to an end at some point.
Yeah, I don't.
Especially the salary cap going up every year, right? It has to come.
Well, kind of. It doesn't go up drastically though. It's not like it increases.
No, there's a big
million.
increase coming. I think it's next year.
Oh,
the year
there is.
after.
Oh, because they have a new CBA coming into place,
Mm-hmm.
right, or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense.
That's right. So I think that'll change eventually. But.
Phil, I don't want to take over the whole podcast talk about NHL mainly because we're going to keep talking
people
about
are like, what
the
fuck,
Leafs will still be in the playoffs. Well, I think people would like hearing about it. I do think, especially for a lot of American fans, it's like I think they like watching big hockey games. I think whether their team is in it or not, I think it's something that they passively follow.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think like any sport, it does better when the marquee teams do well, right? It's like the NBA does well when the Celtics and the Lakers and the Knicks and stuff like that are doing really well, right? And the NHL is no different. MLB, everything, like you need the marquee teams to do well. So the Leafs, a long beleaguered franchise that is the most valuable franchise in the league, finally doing well is notable and might draw more people to at least pay attention. And like you're saying, there's still, tonight's game 7 should have quite a few viewers, being in the New York area, and also the best player in the world, and one of the only players in a long time who has potentially like a realistic shot, maybe not at Wayne Gretzky's point record, but at least at being the number 2 all time in points. Connor McDavid is also in the second round of the playoffs on Edmonton. So there's a lot, and he's a really special player to watch. If anybody's a chance, I know a lot of people in our Discord were watching the Oilers and Kings series. So a lot of people were into a lot of overtime games there, a lot of comeback games. But if you get a chance, obviously watch the Maple Leafs. I want you to watch the Maple Leafs with us. But if you get a chance to catch a couple minutes of Connor McDavid playing on the Oilers, he's just entering his prime, and he is a special player to watch. He is significantly better than every other player on the ice. Like you can tell. Yeah, you can tell just watching like 2 minutes of hockey how much better he is than everybody. Yeah. So very much a treat.
One more thing before we wrap up the hockey talk.
Oh, I want to talk the NHL Breakaway.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll get into NFTs in a second.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual NHL, and we're going to say this for the 500th time today, just for context, okay? Mm-hmm. Tickets to Game 5 of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Tampa Bay Lightning in Toronto, the cheapest ticket was $589 Canadian, and that was a standing room only ticket, okay? And somebody bought it. The cheapest tickets to to Game 1 tomorrow night here in Toronto against the Florida Panthers is $1,100 is the cheapest ticket to get it. That is outrageous, dude. You will not find anything else like that. Maybe the Yankees when it comes to their baseball playoffs. Even then, I don't think it's that expensive. This is wild. $1,100. Like what joker is going to be like, yeah, let me go stand at the very top of the arena against the big cement wall in the back there and pay $1,200 when I could just go in the square with all the crazy fans and probably have a better experience there. But somebody will do it. These things sell, man. Freaking wild.
Let's talk very briefly NHL Breakaway. I don't have many things to say, mainly because there's no news at all. A week and a half ago, we got very excited when Sweet, which is the Dapper Labs equivalent that's running the NHL project, announced that finally NHL Breakaway is a project. It's coming very soon, and that more details, a big announcement's coming out on April 30th. Which was yesterday. We're like, okay, it's the playoffs. Everybody's excited about hockey. We're watching hockey. Give us anything. Give us any little packs, anything at all we can get our hands on. And they said a bunch of details would come out April 30th. Yesterday, the details were revealed. And Phil, do you know what the details were?
The details are that the details are coming out May 2nd.
No, not details. The first pack reveal. Well, not even pack drop. No, but that doesn't mean details. I actually think on May 2nd, it's going to be a photo of a pack, and that's it. So it was
coming 2024.
So they said April 30th, there's more info coming. And then on April 30th, yesterday, they said on May 2nd, we're going to reveal what the pack looks like. And that's it. They didn't say anything. And then the rest of the announcement in Discord is only in Discord. No email, nothing. The rest of the announcement was, we're so happy you're all here. It was a 3-point announcement. It was like, we have 3 things to say. And the other 2, one of them was reveal coming May 2nd. The other 2, one of them was, so glad everybody's here in the Discord. Make sure you pick your favorite team. And the other one was, make sure you watch Boston, the Bruins and Panthers today. Like that was
and they put a link to the NHL website on how to follow that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Well, LG, it's better than nothing, to be honest. It's better than no communication at all. But you're right. They're probably just going to flash what the pack design maybe looks like. And then it's going to be coming in 2024.
It's such a running
Give
joke.
Us something.
I think in NFTs, and it's something that Top Shot has done a lot in the past, and a lot of other projects have done. It's an announcement about an announcement, and now an announcement about an announcement about an announcement. Where it's I just can't stand that. I can't stand hey, this day we're going to release a lot of information, get excited. And then when you get there, they're like, in 2 days, there's an announcement. That the announcement is that there will be an announcement. I can't stand that. Just do it when you're doing it. You know what I mean?
I wish they had like minted some kind of NFT or something to give to people. Maybe you pick your favorite team and receive like random NFT, right? Like,
I still really believe in like a free NFT. You know
that's what I mean.
Like
a free NFT of your own team. Yeah.
Yes. And all day tried that last year. It was Patrick Mahomes, just free, like season 1 NFT, and it is non-transferable, whatever, but just something. Yes, exactly. Like just come get a free NFT, a little token, whatever. And just, if anything, NFT community is going to come get that. They want free stuff, really simple to do. It's on Polygon and won't cost you anything. And then that way, as a marketing strategy, you collect all these addresses, all these emails, all this kind of stuff that you then remarket for your packs. So instead they've had, hey, come sign up for early access, which I haven't heard anything on that. That's fine too. I just think the announcement of the announcement is silly. Sorry. The other part of the announcement though, Phil, is that on Wednesday they will be doing an AMA with the director of NHL programming for Suite. So the person who's like or NHL relations, so the guy who's in charge of the NHL relationship. They're going to do an AMA with him in the Discord, and his name is Travis Howe. He is Gordie Howe's grandson.
Actually?
Yes. Oh, cool. He works there. Yes. So that's a real thing. So that's kind of cool. A hockey legend's grandson is part of the project. Kind of neat. And he actually I did a bit of research. He actually ran a Gordie Howe NFT project like a year or two ago.
Really? I didn't even know that.
You could like mint the NFTs, and then if you were lucky, you would win like game worn elbow pads.
Hey, that's cool. I'll take that. But here's the fun. So
that's kind of, listen, AMA, that's cool. We definitely got to be there in the AMA for the Discord Rumble. And I don't think there's gonna be that many people, because I don't think that many people saw it. So Phil, we definitely have to
be the usual crowd. For those who don't know Gordie Howe, I mean, Gordie Howe's pretty known. If you follow sports, you know Gordie Howe. But for those who don't know, when you get a Gordie Howe hat trick, that is like the holy grail of hockey players.
Yes, that's right. Okay? Yeah. What is a Gordie Howe hat trick?
A Gordie Howe hat trick is when in the same game you score a goal, you record an assist, and you get in a fight.
That's right.
All right. All three in the same game, because Gordie Howe was like a specialist at doing all three.
Yes.
And
that's what hockey was like. It was that was a normal night.
Now you do that. Like again, I hate saying this for the millionth time, but for context, when we played minor hockey LG, at the age of even 11 or 12, there were fights all the time. You could drop your gloves, fight somebody. You'd be gone for the rest of the game, but you'd be back next game. If in minor hockey, in the very same league that we played in when we were young, here in Toronto, if you drop your gloves now, you are gone for 8
Dropping
games.
Your gloves means you're going to fight. Just for anybody who doesn't understand full hockey terminology, when you are on the ice and you and another player are like tussling or kind of like shoving each other and pushing each other, or you get a big dirty hit, what you'll do when you decide to fight, you don't just grab the guy and start fighting. That happens too. But two guys will be like, they'll literally say, let's go. You want to go? Let's go. Which is very suggestive, and they will drop their gloves off their hockey gloves off their hands to reveal their bare knuckles, so that they can have a bare knuckle fight on ice wearing skates. Which is insane when you describe it that way. Well, but that is no longer allowed.
And people love it though. I mean, if you watch a lot of these playoff games, have had these kinds of fights, and fans love it. But back in the day, it was allowed. It was punished,
normal.
But not very severely. And now. Young kids who want to do that will be suspended for 8 games minimum.
8 games. Wow.
8 games now. And if your whole season is 32 games, which is what it is for youth hockey players, and your mom and dad paid $5,000 to $10,000 for you to play hockey, you try explaining when you get in that car how dropping your gloves cost you 8 of those 32 games where you're not playing for like 3 weeks. It's wild.
Yeah.
The only issue I have with that is that it doesn't hold little shithead players accountable anymore. Because back in the day, and there's a lot of them in the NHL, but they have to answer the bell if they're going to do stuff like that. These guys that go around hitting people from behind, slashing ankles, slashing wrists, taking out good players, they used to be held accountable at every level of hockey, which would shape them to be hockey players that are better in the long run, because they don't do that at a higher level. But now, because they're protected by nobody being able to do anything in minor hockey, I think you've seen a lot of these guys now in the NHL. A lot of them go around doing stupid things, but in the NHL, you're going to be held accountable. There's goons on almost every team that'll take care of this. That'll never go away. But anyways, back to Suite for a second. So what are we thinking here? What are we thinking? Seriously, are we getting something this season? I just want to know. If we're not, tell me now, and I'll put it on the back burner until next year.
Oh man,
I don't want to hang out in there hoping if I say hello once a day, I'm going to get something in the Discord.
I don't think you're gonna have to grind for Discord. I think they have the sign up link for beta access, which we shared. I actually asked them to make us a custom link. We're not partnered with them, but I was just genuinely curious how much of our community would actually go and sign up. So we've got that. We put that in the newsletter a couple times, which is cool. And I've been talking to them about doing some kind of exclusive. We'll see. Obviously, hard for them to release any information, even to people like us, without some kind of NDA or something like that, right? Not that there's anything we can go by right now. Not like we can front run the announcement. But I think this year, I don't know if they're going to release anything this year. The way they're rolling it out, like announcement of announcements, makes it seem like they are going to build up to one pack drop, which is what I would do if I was them. I would do like when the Stanley Cup finals begin, like when the finals start, which is a little bit like the NBA finals. Like it's a big deal that it's like, hey, these are the two teams that are going to play for the Stanley Cup, blah, blah, blah. Right. Like that's a big thing. There's a bit of like a media day, media week for that. I would launch a pack, then maybe do a challenge or two if that's what they have in mind. And I would do it like literally something super, super simple, like a couple of the best plays of the year, only the best players, right? Only the top 10 or 20 stars with really fantastic highlights. Toss in a couple rookies, which obviously that's huge in the hockey card collecting world, is you want the rookie cards, rookie moments. And that also mirrors what NFT sports collectors are used to. They've promised historical stuff, so I wouldn't go ham on that yet. Maybe that's something you could do. I would say maybe in like August or September as training camps start or something like that to get people into it. Like, hey, come collect. And I wouldn't jump the shark just yet. I wouldn't roll out Wayne Gretzky's or anybody like that. Just do some good like 90s, 2000s players, like a Joe Sakic or something like that, like some legendary teams like the Avalanche from back then. But I would do it very seldom, just a couple packs here and there. Make it really good. And also, Phil, we don't even know when there's going to be a marketplace. Like we don't know when there's packs, we don't know when there's marketplace.
Yeah, that's
so I would keep it really simple, and honestly, keep it kind of low key so that it's collectors only. Honestly, like they should want to get the packs into the hands of you, me, Ahmad, scientist in our Discord. Like
if you've gone in the Discord and you've connected your team and interacted in the Discord, for me, something like that is like you've made that effort, right?
Yeah, and there's only, honestly, at this point, there's only so many people in the world who want NHL NFTs, right? That are mirror kind of. I don't know what it's going to be like yet, but it's obviously this is mirrored or shaped after the Top Shots of the world, right? So it's a collection. So there's only so many people who are going to be genuine fans of that to begin with. I think they're going to have a lot of marketing to do and see how well the NHL's involved. But that's what I would do: is build hype through the month of May, give some early access, show some previews, and then when the day the Stanley Cup finals start, drop a really limited pack. Like we're talking like drop 500 or 1,000 packs, make them super basic, like $30-$40 each. And that's it. And do nothing else. And then get ready for next season, right? Because we know, again, that's the best thing we ever learned from Janie, and it's super freaking obvious, but she told us that she knew the data from DraftKings and from Reddit and all that kind of stuff, that interest in sports leagues peaks at the start of the season, at the start of the playoffs. And those are the only two tent poles in terms of audience numbers, in terms of Google searches, in terms of all the really important metrics when people actually care. So even though like I think they already missed their window for start of the playoffs, sure, there'll be some interest at the start of the finals, but you're only talking two demographics, right? So the NHL's dream matchup would be Rangers versus, I don't know who's left in the West.
Rangers in Dallas and Rangers in Vegas is their dream matchup.
Yeah, exactly. Right, like like New York Rangers, Vegas Golden Knights would be a dream matchup for them. But again, those are still just 2 markets out of 31. So not that much hype probably for the Stanley Cup finals. But again, do something for the fans then, and then maybe get some hype in September, drop a little historical, some good old players, and then hit the ground running when the season begins. No idea what that looks like though, right? Because there's every other type of format that exists right now. That they can study, but also see what works and what doesn't. Like Top Shot goes with, here's different sets, here's sets of commons, legendaries, whatever, mixed results. Candy does plays of the week, which in theory should work, but those packs don't sell. They sold out the first 2 weeks, but they don't sell out as quick anymore, or if at all. So I'm very curious to see, sure, what the first pack experience looks like, who they drop, but when the season starts and people are paying attention to hockey, what their program looks like what that roadmap looks like, what it looks like for collectors, and how they're going to, artificially value these things. Because if we're looking at, if they drop a freaking, I don't know, who's the biggest star in the league right now? Connor McDavid, right? If they're dropping 20,000 Connor McDavid NFTs,
nope. That's a strikeout right away.
It's not going to, it's not, or unless they literally come in $5 packs. They come in, they're $5 packs and there's 5 cards in each one. Sure, that's fine. But that's gonna be for collectors only.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I'd love to see it. I'm not gonna keep my hopes up. It is what it is. Whatever comes out, and I do hope they're listening. I do hope that I know a lot of people in their Discord mentioned our podcast when we first talked about it, and when we made the suggestions of how it should be about fandom and some of the stuff maybe they can include if they have a really big deal with the NHL, and the NHL said do whatever you guys have to do. Then you guys need to really tap into that stuff and use absolutely everything you can, right? One of the coolest campaigns I ever remember NHL related was when the Winnipeg Jets were announced that they were coming back to the NHL after whatever years. The way they told the city without action is they got some marketing company to put 5,000 hockey sticks all over the city. So when people woke up on that morning in downtown Winnipeg, there were hockey sticks on every possible corner. And everyone's just like, what the hell is this? And then they broke the news that, hey, the NHL is back in Winnipeg. I thought that was so cool, man. I thought it was so brilliant. People got to keep a piece of that. It's a collectible now if you got one of those sticks, even though from some shitty marketing company that just made their own sticks.
Doesn't matter. It's a fun viral marketing thing, awesome, right? And that's huge, huge for
it's a physical, and it got people excited. They own a piece of history. They obviously can't, they can trade it if they want, but I don't know. I just thought it was brilliant. And I think that there's so many possibilities, especially that they haven't done a pack drop. So they haven't fucked up yet. Okay. They haven't dropped the ball. That's the key.
That's the best description of the project right there. They haven't fucked up yet, so that's pretty good.
But that's huge though, because the minute you screw up,
fuck anything up,
right? That's it. Like, okay, the Golazos La Liga thing was cool, but then you're like, wait a minute, these free packs, everyone got the exact same thing, and there's like 50,000 of them. It's like, oh god. Like I thought I was special here.
And I will say that that's one caution for me for the NHL is that's predicated on this idea that I don't know if it's true that the best way to convert people to one of these Dapper products is through the pack opening experience. And don't get me wrong, a digital pack, you stare at it and your inner senses go totally berserk. You're like, I need to open that. I need to open my present. Like it goes way back to when you're a child. There's a present with your name on it. And actually here, I'll show you. I bought one of the Tim Hortons ones. So here you go. Here's a little. Show you this, Phil. And it's like, how can I hold this unopened? Just like, you just want to open
before
it.
Are you opening it right now?
No, I'm not. But I'm saying is that I'm just making the point that it's like, so everything like sports collectibles, Dapper, all that kind of stuff is all predicated on this idea that the pack opening experience is what converts the most people. So something like Golazos is a good example of like, okay, let's just get people to come and open packs. Maybe they'll stick around, but it doesn't work. It doesn't turn them into buyers, or at least not from the numbers that I see where, we track the numbers every week. And the Golazos buyers say it's the exact same number. Sure, that gives people an account. And again, I said that's not a bad thing. Give people something for free. At least you're collecting their emails and you can remarket to them. But the idea that it's like people come and open a pack and then all they want to do after that is keep opening more packs. I don't know if that's true. And I don't know if that's a way to grow in NFTs right now, but that's what we've always been told. And I think for a long time, that's what we heard from Dapper is that like, we know that the pack opening experience is what converts. And it's like, I don't think so. So that's my one caution for the NHL project, that it's like, yes, pack opening experience, beautiful, very important. Will that convert the NFT crowd? I don't know. Will it convert the NHL crowd into wanting digital collectibles? I have no idea, but we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see. It's tough. Like I said, they have a fresh start. They don't have to ruin it by doing something crazy in the next few weeks, few months. Ruin it. Seriously, don't just go nuts, man. Don't get all sorts of people that don't give a shit.
I say this is what they should have done, man. This right here. This is
yeah,
that's pretty cool. I needed a coffee the other day. I don't really ever go to Tim Hortons, but I was like, there's the only thing on the way to where I was going. And I was like, I'll pay $2 for this little pack of 3 cards. And listen, physical cards being able to be scanned into NFTs. I'll always say our partners at Hero, that is literally what they do. And Colex that does it is founded by a Canadian guy, Mark. So it's like literally like there's a quasi-Canadian company that makes that can print a QR code onto your freaking cards and you scan it into an app and it gives you the NFT twin. So this is like there's hundreds of thousands of Canadians who have been to Tim Hortons in the last couple of weeks and have bought one of these upper deck Tim Hortons Legends of the NHL packs, including me, and it's in the hands of tons of people. And that, to me, I think the physical distribution in some format is the simplest one here. But I don't think that's what the NHL has. Maybe they have something. Maybe they'll do something in arenas next year, which would be really cool. Maybe they'll do it at arenas around the league. Opening night, everybody gets a pack or some kind of passcode. Go scan it for a digital collectible. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Reserve judgment. We'll be all over it when it comes out.
That's right. We're sitting here waiting for it. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Phil, well, man, we made it like an entire hour. We had a lot to break down about the NHL Maple Leafs. Obviously, really huge moment for us as Toronto sports fans. But Phil, let's talk NBA. We barely touched on NBA. Let's talk NBA. You and I were firm believers in the Warriors this season. I actually realized that I put a $20 bet on the Warriors winning the championship on March 28th. I forget who they played that day, but I don't know. I watched the game and I was like, you know what? If they turn on, they will be unstoppable. Steph's going to be unstoppable. And that at least so far, I'm still in the green on that. They were pretty far out as title favorites then. Still are a little bit, right? Still not in the I think they're third or fourth right now. But still fantastic first round, honestly. Like, despite some players being injured, which kind of sucks, and a few like questionable plays, I think everybody forgets the Draymond stepping on some bonus thing already. We somehow forgot about that. But that's what a championship team does, where they mess up the other teams like karma and their mojo by doing these goon plays. And that's why guys like Draymond and he had a great night. I think game 5 or game 4 already, a 20-point night, which is fantastic for him. But it's that kind of goon stuff that it's like every championship team needs a guy like that who does stuff that's like, is it his fault? Is he being a dick? But that's how you get through, right? And I don't know what that. And now we get maybe the last ever playoff meeting of Steph and LeBron, which is a fantastic. It's a dream come true for NBA fans. So
again, the NBA never has a shortage of headlines when it comes to regular season games. Summer, whatever it is, there's always something. Okay. We are still hearing about Dylan Brooks. I'm sick and tired of it. Why are we still talking about Dylan Brooks? That happened ages ago. Okay. LeBron took care of it like LeBron should when someone talks shit. Okay. Memphis is kind of a joke team. To me, the only problem I have with Memphis is that I don't believe Ja Morant for 1 second is sorry for what he did. I believe he only said what he had to say to get back in the league. I think he's a bit of a punk. And you know what? He did the right thing. He kind of said, this was on me. This is what we lost. But are you going to fix it? Something inside of me says he's not. The guy's just going to keep acting the way he does. All the even some of the comments he made in the season was like, I'm okay. I'm fine. Those comments are still being thrown at him.
You can't. I think you can't say that shit until you won. I think once you've won, you can talk shit to everybody. It doesn't matter. Even if you won like 2 years ago, doesn't matter. Exactly. You can talk. Once people know that you're a person who is a champion, who can be a champion, obviously as a key player, not as like a bench player. Sorry, Jeremy Lin, don't talk shit. But it's like saying things like, yeah, we're fine in the West after having never been past the second round, I think, for the Grizzlies. Exactly. And also missing like 2 key players. Don't forget, Grizzlies didn't have Steven Adams, Brandon Clark. Right. That's right. And with Jaws troubles and all that kind of stuff, and you're going up against literally the greatest player of this generation, one of the greatest players ever. It's like, watch your mouth, man. Like, so maybe good lesson for the Grizzlies, but and also they definitely benefited, I think, from a very bizarre Western Conference this year that had a lot of seeding problems, a little bit of a mess. So I think they were able to take advantage of some weaker teams this year, or some maybe bad scheduling or whatever it was. Phil, I actually want to go to something that you told me a long time ago about the NBA. And it's always stuck with me. And I tell people this all the time. And it's something that's so obvious, but it's so true, especially in weekends like this, especially with the Jimmy Butler Bucks game, Warriors. And it's a good way. It's always a way that I look at how to predict what a playoff series, what's going to happen, is that you cannot win an important playoff game, an elimination game, clinching game in the NBA if you do not have the best player on the floor.
Yep.
You said that to me, and not the best player in the league, not the MVP, not the best player of this generation, none of that crap. The best player at that exact moment on the floor. Because at the end of the day, great NBA teams, great coaches, all this depth. Yes, of course, like Kevin Looney, fantastic yesterday. All important for the Warriors to get Wiggins back, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, the best players of the NBA are the ones who hit the most important shots, are the ones who take over games, and it becomes a mano. And when the Raptors won, and not to make it back about Toronto, at the end of those close series, second round series, were just scraped by on that insane shot by Kawhi Leonard against the Sixers. In the next round, we were down 2-0 against the Bucks, who took over Kawhi Leonard, and we won 4 in a row. And then
former champion too.
Exactly. So it's like in those, and that's why people, I think, still had a lot of faith in Kawhi even this year, is that it's like, listen, if he's the best, and when he is at his best, he can be the best player on the floor against literally anybody in the league. And that, unfortunately for Kawhi, with a lot of injuries and a lot of drama as well this year, and some personal stuff, it's he hasn't had the chance to prove that. And I was getting a little older, but I'm saying is that Steph, at the end of the day, yesterday, and we all heard now about his speech, all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter. The rest of the team wasn't playing well. And he's like, fine. And you could, like, you were watching that game, that point, like, it's still tied at the start of the third quarter, but then he makes that insane scoop shot where he goes through 2 of the guys and falling, makes that scoop. And at that point, you're like, well, now they're going to win, because there's nobody on the Kings who is better than Steph when they're at their peak capabilities.
And none of those guys have ever been there and done that.
No, they don't know that. They might have that gear.
Right?
They might have that gear, and it's not. And I don't mean that as in before the series. I was like, the Warriors will definitely win because Steph Curry's the best. But the only way the Kings could have won is if De'Aaron Fox morphed into a player that was better than Steph.
Which he did his best. I mean, he did his best.
And he did occasionally, and that's why a lot of people are excited for the Kings now. And and Phil, what I love whenever there's a playoff series like this is so corny. Is the team that won is always like, but in the post-game press conference is like, but watch out for this team in the future. They're going to be good. And I'm always like, that's kind of condescending, man. That's kind of BS. Like, I used to say that about, when the Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan Raptors started to win, and we lost in a 7-game series to the Brooklyn Nets. You remember that? Like the stars, the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Brooklyn Nets. And then afterwards, they're like, but these Raptors, they're something special. Watch out. And it was like, shut up. You fucking lost, man. You're just trying to be like a nice guy after you like totally trashed our team and our fans. Like, shut up.
He's got a bright future. Yeah, they always say that.
So I think it's funny.
And just to cap off what you said, you can never, not just underestimate the best player on the court, but you can never underestimate the heart of a champion. That's one of the most famous sayings in sports. And this is what I told all my hockey players before we won that championship there a few weeks ago. That's right.
Yeah, of course, your famous speech.
I said, you guys win this championship, you will always have the heart of a champion. You will always have it inside of you, the feeling and the desire and the knowledge of what it takes to win a championship and to get there. You guys, that's not something you can teach or coach or ever have until you actually experience it, right? Like the Golden State Warriors could have panicked 100 times in that series. When they finally dropped the home game, it was like, okay, this thing should be over. But it wasn't. It wasn't over, right?
It can be done. They know that they can do it.
That's right.
Right. There's no doubt. There's doubt, but there's like, they know
Kawhi was the same.
They can win. Yep. They're not sitting around wondering, man, what does it take to win in the playoffs? They know. That's right. They know. Right. So, and even for the second round, that's another way that I'm even visualizing it. But Phil, we do have to talk about Top Shot before we talk about second round predictions, because a week ago on this exact same show, we pulled up the floors, and let's pull them up again just for fun. We talked about Jimmy Butler being underpriced. Right. And Jimmy Butler at the time was $3 because and the Heat were up 2-1 at the time, but everyone's like, doesn't matter. The Heat is just a flash in the pan. Giannis is going to come back. They're going to crush them. The Bucks are supposed to win. And a few hours later, that turned out to not be true. Butler, another fantastic game.
And
that was game 4.
And before you say what you said, I said that my entire Top Shot life, I've been looking for a moment I can buy 100 or 200 of, and triple my money. At least that's my dream. Okay. I tried it so many times with the Cool Cats. It never happened. And sure enough, as we pulled up these moments last week, LG, Jimmy Butler sat at $3.
And now he's 19.
Oh my God!
And he peaked even beyond that. He was like 20 something at one point. He's injured now. That's kind of a sketch series. No one knows what's going to happen because he's hurt, but they still beat the Knicks. Brunson had a bad game. Who knows? But Butler is at 19. And Phil, as I described on the show last week, I made a bet, Sam J, from the first minute, that the Warriors would go further than the Suns in the playoffs. And I had a lot of faith in the Warriors then. I still do a little bit, but I stocked up a bit on Steph and Clay and the wild card, and I sold a bunch of it this morning. I made some money. Congrats to me. I made like $70. But still,
this is a big home run though for Top Shot.
When the Warriors, when the Warriors were down 2-0, I was like, I'm going to put some money on this. I went and bought a bunch of Steph Curry's at $9, and some people got them for $7. And now he's going for 37. So listen, and again, that's, in the grand scheme of NFTs, that's a fucking tiny gain. You could have minted a Bored Ape for $100 and made freaking millions. But for this game to be fun, I think that they've absolutely nailed this. I think now they left it up to the market to decide. They sold the redemptions. Now the sale's done. They're like, and you guys have all the moments. Now you get to watch your basketball. Here's how it's going to work. Yeah, and then the market can decide what's worth what. And
take a risk, you might make money. I like that.
And anything that works for anybody who is a true degenerate, let's call it. You can't really say gambling, whatever. But let's say for anybody who's a true degenerate, you want to put money down on your hunches. That's the best thing. You don't want to bet on the title favorite. You want to bet on the 6th or 7th favorite that you're like, but you know what? I think they can pull it off or whatever. You want to bet on some kind of likely outcome with a huge output. And now we weren't sure if that was going to happen with these redemption moments on Top Shot, but it has. They made it fun and interesting and moments pump. Jimmy Butler from $3 to 19, Steph Curry from $9 to 37. Okay. So pretty, I think that's mission accomplished. Obviously, a lot of other things don't work on Top Shot. There's still too much supply. There's stuff like 1 million sets that's put out this series, which is bananas. There should be nothing else coming out at all. Maybe their finals legendary set that like 3 people want, but otherwise there should be nothing else coming out at all for Top Shot. But let's ignore that for a second and say that this is definitely a win.
They actually, last night was the first time I got pissed at Top Shot in a really long time, because I redeemed for every possible moment yesterday. I think I've been redeeming almost everything. What I've been doing, my strategy with these has been, I got a couple packs. I kept what I had in the packs, but I've been buying the $2 redemptions at the very floor. Okay. Of teams that are eliminated or about to be eliminated. And then I cash those in. If I can't get all 3 for a team, who cares? But my goal is actually to collect the redemption tokens, which are more scarce than the actual playoff moments, because more have been minted than have been left behind.
So let's even just give you an example, like Nick Claxton, Russell Westbrook, Donovan Mitchell, all of them. These moments are minted to 5,000 since they only lasted 1 round. For Donovan Mitchell, 3,500 basically of the moments were burned for his first round moments. So this redemption token, which has 0 utility left, nothing else will be done with it, is one of 1,500.
But it's a collectible, and it's the first of its kind, and it has its own set. So it will be popular to a certain degree. I've been picking them up for $2. As soon as the redemption period is over on a certain series, people floor them, right? They're
Anthony
like, okay,
Edwards,
but I don't get it. Why
Darius
did you
Garland
floor it as opposed to minting a playoff moment? And the reason I believe is that you can sell that redemption for $2, but you can't sell any playoff moments for $2. I've tried. I've listed all my playoff moments at $2. They don't sell. They just don't. And I will never.
Well, I mean, right now they're more numerous though. They're less scarce, right? So
I will never buy anything. I will never sell anything for $1, because you might as well just redeem it for a trade ticket if you're going to sell for $1. Right.
You know what, Phil? Here's the theory on that, actually. Here's just looking at it visually right now. Just looking at this page, we've got Nicholas Claxton, we've got we got his blank, let's call his pass, right? His redemption token. But then you have like Kawhi Leonard's first round moment, which is hilarious. Russell Westbrook's. I want the moment with the guy's face. Like, I want the card.
I like,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't like, I get it. The thumbnails, sure. The thumbnail, the action shot, sure, it's cool. Like the Norman Powell one. He's like, yeah, he's screaming. Or the Chris Middleton, it's like, this is a boring basketball photo. Okay, it's him with the ball in his hands and he's about to dribble by somebody. Like, that's an action shot, sure. But look, like these black and white photos of Russell Westbrook, Donovan Mitchell, like Anthony Edwards, like I kind of want that more. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a cool visual.
I do too. This is why I'm collecting them. And like I said, people are flooring them. So it's but what I just find it so weird that as soon as the redemption period's over, it's like people put them on the floor. I'm like, why didn't you just redeem?
But you know what? I think that's good though. I think it's good. I think it's good that the market, like the part of the market, some people stack stuff and now dump it to recoup any kind of money they can, and they don't want it. But and some parts of the market want those things. I think that's a good market.
So I'm going to ask you this now. You called that Jimmy Butler. You also called the Steph Curry. We're now in the second round of the NBA playoffs. Who is the Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry of this round, or is it too early to tell because most of the teams or series haven't even been?
And again, and before I answer that, I want to say I'm only playing the market right now. I'm not playing who's going to win the championship. I'm playing the emotions of the market because the market is what you, the way that I do things. Like I base it on the market, not on NBA. Like here's my legit thought. Like I'm not putting money on the champions right now. Having scrolled through this, I think a lot of these are well priced. Jokic is $20. I would argue that is maybe underpriced compared to LeBron and Steph at 40 and 37.
Yeah, the Nuggets look good, man.
The Nuggets look good, but Nuggets is a question mark. There's no champions there.
How much is Jamal?
We're going to get to him in a second, but I'm just saying the Nuggets are not champions, and they are playing a team that has a champion on it. And I think that's the only reason the Nuggets aren't worth more. But at the same time, Kevin Durant's only $15 compared to Jokic, right? So compared to
how
Jokic,
many have been redeemed? How does that work, LG? Just for people who don't understand,
okay,
how many Jokic's are left to kind of
great question. So his redemption token, which is the unburned one, there's 3,200 left, and 1,793 were burned for the first round moment. But the thing is that people can then burn that first round moment for the second round moment.
Are you serious? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Shut up.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Oh,
so that's
I didn't know that.
That's the thing. And somebody texted me, make sure that's accurate. So now even I feel like maybe that's not true, but I definitely think that it's true. Top Shot wants everybody to play nice. Top Shot will never be that extreme. So I do believe that you will be able to burn the first round moment for the second round moment as you please. However, that still makes it kind of sketchy, right? Because Jokic, let's say they beat the Suns. Some people are going to burn one of their 3,200, the 3,200 tokens for the second round moment. Some people are going to burn their first round moments for the second round moment.
Okay.
So how many first round moments will be left after that from the ones that were burned? So that's where this is fun.
Okay, it makes sense. So if you look at the pricing, what you said is 100% accurate because the Jamal Murray first round moment would not be worth the same amount as the token if the token had more value in the sense that that's the only thing you could burn.
No, they're the same thing. So Jamal Murray, another good example. So pretty much the exact same number. 32, so about 3,200 or so that are remaining of the redemption, 1,800 of the first round moment. But for the second round moment, either the redemption or the first round moment can be burned. But that's the part, and that's why it's like a little less, like basically it's a little less than a quarter or a little less than a third, or about a third of what it can be. So what's interesting here, Phil, is that if the Nuggets win and you want to collect all the Nuggets moments, Jamal Murray, that's where it's getting interesting, because then he's going to have 4 different rounds of moments. Yeah. Right. So where do those, which one is going to be the bottleneck? We don't know that yet. Right. Because then there's 1,800 first round ones. Some of those they're going to be burned for second round. Some of the redemptions are going to be burned for second round. But so they go to the conference finals, then how many of all those moments get burned for conference finals? And if they go to the finals, how many of all those are burned for finals? Right. So you don't know. So that's the thing, is that it's like that if you take 5,000 and you split it into 4, it's 1,250. Right. So there's an over allocation already of first round moments that have been burned. So that's where there's a funny game there. However, what we're looking for, Phil, we're looking for your ideal scenario, which is not to flip a $14 Jamal Murray to a $19 Jamal Murray or whatever else you want, or a Jokic or whatever. You're looking for a 3x. And I'm going to tell you right now that the only potential one, and do not go out and buy these, because this is I actually really haven't watched this team much at all this year. And the fan base is slightly annoying, is Knicks moments. The Knicks. I think it's a wild card.
LG just slap Knicks fans in the face. If you're listening,
I'm telling you the moments are underpriced based on the idea that, to me, the East is wide open. Yes, the Celtics are the big bad team to beat, but holy shit, could they barely get by Trae Young? And the Celtics, despite being the favorites and everything, there is no champion yet on that team. So anything can happen. The Boston Bruins fucking lost. You know what I mean? Maybe the energy is changing. I'm not saying we don't even know if Boston is going to beat the Sixers. Embiid's out game 1, but again, 7-game series. Anything can happen there. I'd say at this point, the East to me is kind of open. That might seem ridiculous, but everyone thought the Bucks were going to win. They didn't. So, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is $7. The New York Knicks wild card is $6. Julius Randle is $6. And I'm telling you, all the Knicks, and again, I'm thinking about short-term market movements. I'm not saying the Knicks are going to go the whole way. I'm thinking people thinking things that are crazy. Let's say the Knicks win the next 2 games.
Okay, so what if the Knicks win the series, LG? What are those land?
But it doesn't even need to go that far. The Knicks just need to be up 2-1 or 3-1 in this series for these moments to double. That's what I'm telling you.
But hypothetically, I don't know if it'll happen. If they win the series, what price tag are we looking at for those Knicks moments? Roughly. I think if they win the series, I think Jalen Brunson would be up in the $16 to $17 range. I think so. And again, it would depend who they might face. Right.
I think if they won the series and they're facing the Sixers, and again, I think other better basketball analysts would have a better sense of who the Knicks would better match up against in the next round of Celtics or Sixers. Again, neither of those teams, neither Celtics nor Sixers, have champions. No team in the East has a champion other than the Miami Heat with Kyle Lowry. I guess maybe some other teams do. I don't know. You have to go down the bench. But in terms of like their starters, there are no other teams with guys who have won. So I'm just saying, and again, this is not a Jimmy Butler at $3. There's nowhere near that. But anything's possible in the NBA. Julius Randle, $6. Not the worst. Okay. Not the worst spend, considering that if they lost, that would go down to $3 or something like that. Because they also have first round moments, right? So their moments are going to be split. So it's not going to be $2. They're going to be split kind of evenly.
What about the wild card? Can you redeem that for another wild card? Like, how does that work?
If yes, the exact same thing. The wild card might as well be a player that just goes in its own direction.
So the wild card can be different every round, correct?
It will be different every round.
It will be different. But if you got who's the wild card for the first round for the next?
It's Josh Hart. So it's Josh Hart. So
if you have a Josh Hart, you can redeem it for the next wild card.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes. So, anyways, so that's out of all the teams that are left. And again, I don't think there's no Butler $3, Curry $8 here. But I'm saying of all the teams that are left, to me, like the East, a little bit uncertain. Everyone's gonna reply to this, be like, listen, the Celtics are gonna rampage through everybody. Obviously, that's a very maybe. But I would say of everything here, that's where I see opportunity. It doesn't jump out to me the same way that the Butler one did. But I think the best time to do something is when a team is completely written off, right? So Warriors were down 2-0. Butler, they were up 2-1, but Giannis was going to come back, and everyone thought the Bucks were going to be the Bucks, and they weren't.
The Suns is an interesting one too. I know the matchup is looking pretty bad for them because Chris Paul is going to get killed in this series, but KD is another guy where you kind of feel like, man, he could easily take over.
Does he
I know
have
the
it in
Nuggets
him?
are very
Does
well
he have
rounded.
it in him? Yeah,
I don't know anymore with KD. That's the thing.
But that's you know what, Phil,
I
would tell you that actually a potential good scenario to buy some KD is if
they lose the next game.
If they lose the next game,
that's
being
right.
down 2-0.
Oh yeah,
being down 2-0. Only a prior champion can do that.
That thing will go down to go down 4.
Kevin Durant, he's new to that team. He's trying to play in the system, but everyone's been wondering for a couple of years now: does Kevin Durant still have that extra gear?
Or Devin Booker? Does he have it in him?
And well, that's it.
Chris
Now
Paul,
that they both have a running mate of that stature. And Booker, I mean, to the Suns, to their credit, and again, it was the year after the bubble. They still went to the finals, right?
That's
so it's not, and Booker definitely gets shit on a lot, but man, is he ever a producer? Holy shit, can that guy pour on the points? So, being and Nuggets, they're not getting the credit because I think people think they could be shaky and who knows what. So I'd say a good opportunity.
Loaded though, man. We've seen them turn on.
They're loaded, gear. But anything can happen. Again, no champion on the team.
But nobody's picking the Nuggets though. Barely anybody's picking them, right? So For me, they're dangerous. I like the Nuggets a lot after seeing what I saw. Jamal Murray's playing on another level.
Think about it this way: if you look at the most expensive of every team's redemptions overall, so for the Suns, like forget Chris Paul for a second, the Kevin Durant moments are worth twice as much. So if you just look at that again, Jokic is worth $20, Durant is worth 15, LeBron and Steph are worth double that. So, but one of LeBron or Steph is not going to make it past this round. So that's kind of a funny thing. So that to me is the market price. Obviously the market is going to price guys like LeBron and Steph, multiple ring winners, is always going to price them more just on the name. But
the price swings are going to be nuts in this series.
That's what I'm saying. In terms of the redemption strategy, like either Kevin Durant or Jokic are going to be in the conference finals. And only one of LeBron or Steph are going to be in like this. The market, it doesn't really make sense when you think about it. It would make sense if the Warriors, like if they were split off, if the Warriors and Lakers were not playing each other and were clearly favored. So even right now, the market is already favoring the winner of the Lakers and Warriors series versus the winner of the Suns and Nuggets. That's how I read what's happening in the redemptions right now. Yeah.
That's nuts. And you know what? There's a good chance the Lakers go down 2-0 in that series, right? So something to keep an eye on.
And it's the same thing in the East, where I think the market is pricing in the winners of Celtics and 76ers to go on versus and beat the winner of Heat and
Embiid, who is doubtful tonight, is just like, okay, so everyone's kind of writing them off.
Well, he's and you know what, Phil, I will say, actually, you know what? Maybe that's another opportunity. Embiid is $11 for his redemption moment.
Yeah.
So if you're a person,
that seems really low for a team.
If you're a person who thinks Embiid is going to find that extra gear, that the Sixers are going to find that extra gear this year with Harden and everybody else on the team, and that as soon as they're healthy, they're going to obliterate the Celtics, or Celtics are going to choke or whatever, and they make it past that. Like if at any point, like what is it? No, they haven't played yet, right? The first game's tonight.
It's tonight. The first game.
Game one's very shortly. Celtics win that Embiid moment will go even down more. Celtics win again at home to go up 2-0, go down. At that point, I'd say. So
but do you wait? Right, that's the question. If they pull off the win tonight, you won't get that price again on Embiid, right?
Listen, Embiid, even if Embiid doesn't play tonight and the Sixers win, that's even more bullish on the Sixers, the Sixers, right? That they've won without Embiid. Holy shit! And the Celtics are full strength. Then that's pretty good. And I'd say that Embiid moment goes right back to 16, 17, $20, right? And again, the fact that we can talk about all this is always what Top Shot should have been. This is always that it's like, if you want to follow basketball, you want to bet on outcomes, all that kind of stuff with collectibles, that it's this kind of dynamic market.
Play the odds.
Top Shot was like that a little bit, but then they started minting moments to 15, 20, 40,000, 60,000, and it didn't matter at all anymore. So this is great, honestly. The fact that we can break it down for 25 minutes like this is really exciting.
It really is. Like I said, again, I've said it for the third podcast in a row. It brings me back to the Cool Cat days for sure, where you had to predict something that was even more unpredictable as to what were the next base moments. This you actually have a bit of control. Right? Like the great plays, if you thought the Heat could pull off the upset of the century, was to buy Jimmy Butler. What was he again? $5, $3, whatever the hell he was.
$3. He was $3 when we recorded.
Jesus Christ.
$3.
If you were willing to take that risk, I think the risk was low, because if we're thinking, LG, if they had lost the series, what does Jimmy Butler go down to? $2? Seriously.
Yeah, he's with the rest. But the thing is that if these players didn't have a bunch of other moments, then they might be propped up a little bit more. But
but your risk was very low.
Who gives a shit about a moment from a player from a first round series loss? You do not give a shit. Kawhi, Russell Westbrook, great players. They're very valued on Top Shot, but man, does it not matter to get them losing in the first round? That doesn't. Maybe a few purists are like, oh wow, Russ was so good. Who cares? Honestly,
who cares?
And I think for redemption, I don't think the point is to care about the moment. I think the point is to freaking try and be the one who's right about which teams are going to keep going, and try and scoop up while they're cheap all the moments from the team that wins. Right. I think that that's the game, or at least even if you don't want to play that game, there is that level of a game at this point in here. So yeah. Okay. So to recap our thoughts, or at least my thoughts so far, potentially underpriced, and even more underpriced if their teams lose the next game, let's say, is Durant, Embiid, and maybe Brunson. Durant at 15, Embiid at 11, and Brunson at $7. By all means, none of those players could win another single playoff game. Absolutely possible, and their moments could plummet. So this is not financial advice. Not financial advice. Make your own decisions. Do not Listen to me. Another question for you though, Phil. If the Lakers lose tomorrow night, LeBron's at $40 right now.
No, it's going down. Yep.
Right?
Oh yeah. I think this year. Oh, listen, I put my foot in my mouth with that one when I predicted the Golden State and Sacramento series. The home team would never win a game, and then sure enough, the away team, and sure enough, the away team won the last 3 games. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
But I think we're going to see the same scenario. I think the Warriors are going to be even harder to beat at home again, and they might even take a 2-0 series lead. And 100%, if that happens, LeBron will plummet. But you can't write off LeBron or the Lakers, as they head home.
But they could look. But even like here's a good scenario where it's like not only did they lose game 1 against the Warriors, but they look terrible against the Warriors. Yeah, like possible. Something like LeBron scores 11 points, his lowest ever playoff total, like doomsday. Like Anthony Davis gets in an arguing match with D'Angelo Russell on the bench, like all these and then that moment just crashes like. And you think the Lakers can go far, and then they win the next game, and the moment right back to $40, right? So I think there's a lot of potential there.
Agreed.
Yeah,
it's fun, man. It's been a lot of fun.
It is fun.
I get confused with the redemption periods because they're all over the place.
It is a little much. So you know what? Let's go redeem a moment right now.
For someone like me who's collecting the tokens after redemption period, it's hard to see what I own, what I don't. Like it's confusing. It's been confusing. Since the start,
I've got a Lakers wild card moment that I had gotten in a pack, and I'm gonna go redeem it right now for Austin Reeves. Finally, get myself a nice Austin Reeves moment here.
I think that period ends tomorrow, right? The redemption.
Yes,
period?
It ends tomorrow, so it usually lasts like 3 days after the round ends. And you know what, Phil? I will say that probably one of the only negatives so far of the campaign is that it is really confusing for some people. We even got a DM at the first minute over the weekend. Yeah. Somebody asked me, "How do these work?" Which is too bad. And I explained it to the guys, like, "Listen, you can trade it for this or this," and he was like, "Okay, thank you, very simple." But that's the only downside. But I will say, I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing because I think a little bit of complexity is good. And also I think that makes people pay a little bit more attention. I think a lot of stuff on Top Shot has been way too basic. It's like, do you have the player with the most rebounds from last night? Okay, do the challenge. Like that is kind of boring. You don't need to know anything. You don't need to learn anything. I've been so
into it because of this. Because I don't
I think the fact that you have to spend a bit of time being like, how does this work again? What can I do? Click through. That's good. You want, from a tech perspective, you want users time on site. You want people to do it. And then also it makes people ask other people, like, do you think I should trade this in or not? Like, should I do this now? Should I sell it? Steph Curry up to $37. Should you sell that right now? Right. That's a nice listen, man. If these redemptions are sold in packs for $9 or $10 on average, that's a nice come up if you pulled a Steph, right? So a lot of little options like that for people.
Do we know how many packs they burned last night? Or do we know if that's actually happened? I know the cutoff was 7 p.m. Eastern. Where whatever packs weren't sold,
I think there was only 800 packs left, so I think the burning effect is going to be very minimal.
Crap, man! People went crazy. There were like 10,000 left when I last checked a couple days ago.
Yeah, I think the burning effect is going to be very, very minimal.
You know what I've enjoyed the most though about these packs is they contain so many spotlight moments that I've been able to scoop up.
Oh yeah, you and your spotlight collection.
Amazing. Nobody else is doing this right now, but I've been able to scoop up amazing serial numbers for $1. Like we're talking like double-digit serial numbers for $1 because people are getting these in their packs and they only care about the redemption and they're like, screw this crap. I'm out of here. Right? Yeah. I love it. This is perfect time to hit the market for you.
Very happy for you and your redemption.
I'm getting there. I think I'm
your spotlight.
100. So
there you go. So I just I had bought a Darren Fox moment. I think after Game 6.
Yeah,
or right before Game 6 for $3. So I don't really lose any money. So I just redeemed it. So whatever, and I still have, here we go. I haven't decided if I'm going to redeem the Warriors ones or not. But I have 3 days. I have 2 days to do it.
I actually the reason I got pissed last night is because we got used to the redemptions being handed out like 6, 7, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, and I got my Norm Powell super early, or was it Norm Powell? Yeah. Okay, like really early in the afternoon. I was waiting for 5 more redemptions yesterday from 2 of the teams that were out. And nothing came. We're talking like 1 or 2 a.m. There's still nothing. I'm like, did they forget about me? Did I not properly do this? The redemptions are gone. They're on the marketplace. Some of the moments from the playoffs. And I didn't get mine yet. So I'm like, Top Shot hasn't said a word. Okay. So I go in the Discord where I can, Old Faithful, no matter what. You go in there, you sure enough, you will find someone complaining about the same shit you are.
Of course.
And all I had to say was, did anyone else not get their redemptions yet? And out of the woodwork came all sorts of people fucking going nuts. And Mustafa had to come in there and be like, they are still being distributed. But it's like a lifeline you look for when you feel like you're the only one who got screwed and you see other people in the same boat. It's just like,
so easy to just make people go nuts, man.
And the other thing was at the same time, people were saying, no, I did not get it. What do you expect when I didn't even get my free t-shirt yet? Okay, that was the main comment in there. Okay, and guess what Top Shot did today? They announced via tweet that the t-shirts will be shipped out in mid-May. Okay, I'm like, I don't know what I started in this Discord, but people are fucking losing it in here right now. So
wow, man,
all I did was say,
good.
Did anyone else not receive all their redemptions? And now it's like a trickle effect. Of people. I was getting notifications all night. People like, yeah, me too. I didn't get any.
Well, there's still a very passionate base. And actually, Phil, we put out the monthly numbers earlier today, and Top Shot still had over 10,000 buyers.
It's
in April,
fun, man. Right? It's a lot of fun.
25% up from March. So I don't know. I don't know if
now that things have calmed down, it is actually
of,
really, really fun. I know some people are scarred for life and they don't want to give it a chance. I mean, when you lose $50,000, say, on something, okay, and a lot of people did, you're not going to get over it that easily. You're not going to come back and say, I'm going to have fun here for $5-10, right? It's scarring. It really is. And you feel like you got ripped off. You feel like you were done wrong. And a lot of these big collectors are just never coming back, right? Unfortunately.
Yeah, I also think
there's nothing you can do about that.
I think there's just too many moments.
But there's still way too many, of course.
Like, listen. I literally just went back to the main marketplace page. Okay, look what comes up. This is what I mean. Okay, so first one is DeJounte Murray Spotlight, and then after that is 6 different Kevin Love moments of the exact same fucking thing of these parallels, and then 5 Draymond Greens. Like, no, like that's
just this shit. Who came up with this parallels,
man?
Shit?
Like,
what's
it looks terrible.
That was a terrible idea.
But it's not even just parallels. It's just too much of everything. Like, it's too much. Like, it's even this series and last series, or this season, this series 4 and series 3, when they announced the roadmap, both times I was like, it's way too much. It's way too much. It's way too many sets. Like, it's just confusing. So yeah, I agree with you. Like sure, the collecting and the fact that a lot of it is cheap to collect now. Like, I'm really happy you're getting $1 spotlight moments in good series. I think that's good. But just going to the marketplace, you're just like, oh man, like, it makes you want to throw up a little bit that there's just so many different things there, and a lot of it are just, it's so
they
irrelevant.
Should actually
like,
eliminate
what is this Kevin Love?
Some of these moments.
Kevin Love, October 30th, 2022. And then a friggin' 2-paragraph description about Kevin Love scoring, and then they won by 13 points over the Knicks that night. And Love had 29 points, but it's like, man, that is so relevant. Who fucking cares? And there's 5 of them. There's 5 different versions of that moment. Like,
I think they need
come
to
on,
select
man.
moments and just start burning the entire supply that it's just sitting there on the marketplace out of nowhere. There should be like an explosion a month where they pick one moment and just obliterate it.
Where the moment turns, they can update the metadata. They should just update it. It should just become like a mint pass or something like that. Like, it just erases.
I do like what they're doing, LG, where they kind of list how many have been burned. I still want the original mint count to be knocked down to how many are available out there, minus the burning. Okay, so if a moment that was minted at 10,000 is now down to only like 2,000, I want it to say mint size 2,000. You can put it maybe on the inside somewhere that it was 10,000 before, but I want it to be listed at the actual mint size. A good example is the spotlight moment of, I think it was Josh Giddey or Franz Wagner. The Wagner one came out minted higher than the Giddey by a little bit, but then both communities of OKC and the Magic were having a huge burn off to see who could burn the most to bring it to the bottleneck moment. Right?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That was wild. Like, they were burning like hundreds of them. I'm like, holy shit, this thing's gonna be down under 1,000 before we even know it. From 1,700, right? I want the information on the front to be updated. I would love for it to just read how many are left. Right. I don't know if we'll ever get there.
You mean the actual mint number? Yeah. So here's a good example. It's Max Strus one.
Right. But they have improved.
60,000 mint count from series 3. 27,000 have been burned, but it's like,
insane.
but at the same time, that's still like it's irrelevant at that point. You know
Who
what
the
I mean?
hell
like
owns all the others? Who the hell
but
is
that's it.
holding
That's
that
what I mean.
many
There's still
max troops?
30,000 out there. Like that's it. Like 27,000
who?
burned seems impressive, but it's so irrelevant when there's another 33,000 circulating. Like
I have to
that's
say,
absolutely berserk. And this is from a
it's
game
insane, man.
December 11th,
Yeah.
2021
Who cares? It is a
against
cool
the
play, though.
Bulls from last season.
Yeah.
And Strus had 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Like what the fuck, man? Like,
But that's
are
where
you
it's different from
insane?
physical cards. Like if you own a Max Strus from 5 years ago, and that was the only card he had all year, that's part of the set.
16,000 are hidden in packs. What the fuck?
But what packs?
Like, what does that even mean? What packs?
That's ridiculous. That needs to be knocked out. Whatever packs have, those need to be burned to death, and that's
Locker 3,000 in the locker room. Anything, all these packs that Top Shot has that they use as
crazy,
rewards and all that kind of shit. All that needs to go, man. That's what I mean.
I made a mistake of doing that challenge a couple weeks
ago.
The
supply is so beyond anything I think fixing at this point. Like it can't be fixed by challenges. It can't be fixed by little burnings or any of that kind of stuff. Like you need to significantly change the platform, I think, to fix it. And look, and this is what I mean, right? It's like redemptions in a microcosm, just in a silo, fantastic, super fun. But when you zoom, as soon as that's done, you zoom back out to like the realities of Top Shot. It's bleak, man. I think it's rough, you know, where it's like, what are you ever going to do with that? It doesn't matter what Series 5 roadmaps, all that kind of stuff. It's just the one where they're going to save it. It doesn't matter when you have this absolute train wreck behind you. You know what I mean? Like, and that train wreck doesn't go away. It's not, Phil, it's not just people spending 50, 30, 40 grand 2 years ago during the Top Shot boom. We all got burned. No, this is recent. This is a recent disaster. Like these Kevin Love moments. Like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's like you need a significant strategy change. Like, and I don't know. I could go on for a long time about this kind of stuff, but it's too much.
Who's in charge at Top Shot? Do we know?
Roham.
Oh, okay.
Fucking Roham.
Wonderful.
Out shopping with his girlfriend while he's managing Top Shot.
I saw AG absolutely obliterate him again in a tweet. I mean, I think he does it every week. But AG won something. I forgot what it was. He won something from Top Shot. He's like, how the hell does a complete asshole like me win this? I'm like, anyways. But yeah, you know, I was thinking about this the other day when we had a big family. It's actually for the Leafs game. They're all like, what's going on with Top Shot? All my friends and family are like, what's going on with Top Shot? You made us sign up for accounts 2 years ago. We did. We bought tons and tons of shit, but we haven't touched it since. And we don't even know what the hell. And I'm actually intrigued. Like, I want to be like, give me your account for a second. I want to see what the hell's in there. And I think the least we could probably do for people like that at this point, since they don't have any interest anymore, is probably to find a strategy to get them something out of this, right? I don't know what it would be. I am actually super intrigued. I had one of my friends actually log in for the first time in a year and a half, and he had like 6 packs that had been airdropped to him for whatever reasons. And he was just like, what in the hell? He's like, for what? Right? Like, I just find it funny that there's a lot of people out there like that. Like, this is where all these moments are. There's all these random accounts. Don't forget when people were multi-accounting, where they opened like 6 accounts for their family, and they had all these shit moments in them. They're not managing them anymore. They're just sitting there.
They're sitting there.
Right?
Yeah.
But, you know, an account like that, I would probably burn everything and just hold trade tickets, and maybe you'll get something good, and then you can sell it and be gone. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think there's a ton of supply actually just sitting there for people who have no idea that it's even there. Right? There's got to be tons of it. And these people are the perfect example. All 6 people in the room have accounts. They have over 100 moments, and they couldn't tell me what they have. Clueless. They have no clue.
It's all those hundreds of thousands of accounts that Top Shot loves to tout around. And you go to the Flow website and it says 800,000 accounts on fucking Top Shot. And it's like, dude, that's nice. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's not true. Like,
yeah, but that works with the bozos at the NBA who sit in the room and they're like, holy shit, wow, amazing, right?
No, there's no way. They're not immune to this. You know what I mean? Like, the sports tech scene is small. It's not, you can't, there's nowhere you could hide to avoid the disaster that Top Shot has taken on, you know, in the last couple of years. So anyways,
don't forget to set your lineup for NBA Sorare. Just a reminder.
So I was about to talk about Sorare, actually. How did you do well last week? And sorry, now we're going to talk. No, now we're going to talk about their big competitor, Sorare. I'll say right now, Sorare playoffs fucking boring compared to Top Shot. Like, honestly,
I said it and
so
forget it, to
boring.
be honest with you.
It's
weird because Sorare had such an edge, I feel, earlier in the year, and Top Shot kind of reeled that in and took over for the playoffs.
There's no stakes. There's no stakes.
I don't check it. I don't even care who I have, to be honest, because I know that the best I can do for someone like me who plays for free is I can win a tier 1 and I have all the tier ones already anyways from all year.
Even Phil, look at this. Like, okay, so I sold a lot of limited cards, so I'm not very competitive in the limited. And these are playoff long challenges that Sorare has. So it's like you enter every week and then your points accumulate over time. So you can still get back into it with some obscure picks. I'm just playing the common one, right? There's 108,000 entries. I'm number 10,000, just under 11,000. I'm number 10,858. So I'm doing well. I'm in the top 10%, right? But even if I get and to get a prize, I have to get within the 100th. I have to be in the top 100, and even then, I get 100 Sorare credits, which I think might be enough to buy a T-shirt from their store, and the T-shirt is going to say Sorare NBA Playoffs. That's what I'm playing for. Like, that is pitiful. And even we talked about this on MLB. The rewards are pathetic. Who's going to want to play and win $3? Like, that's not nearly enough. Their rake for MLB is 98% from last season to now, which is completely insane. They got to step it up, man, because they came roaring out of the gate. They definitely took over. They ran affiliate program with all the Top Shot creators, did super, super well. But it seems like gas has kind of run out right at the most critical point here. Because Top Shot, if you do want to look at these as apples to apples, which they are not, they are different products. You can do both very happily. But if you do want to look at it as a competition, I think Top Shot is absolutely eating their lunch when it comes to playoff activations.
100%. And without making any big investments. And I've had an issue with the rewards for a while now. Okay. When I did invest in limited cards, and I was finishing really high and not getting anything for it, I was kind of like, man, this doesn't make sense. It's very comparable, LG, to DraftKings. People don't know this. People who don't play DraftKings don't know this. But unless you're in the very high percentage in DraftKings, and even if, like, it's wild. If you're in a tournament that costs you $20 to enter, grand prize is $25,000. If you finish fifth, you literally get like $20. Okay. It's wild. It's like it's a winner take all type of deal almost for a lot of the DraftKings contests, unless you play the 50-50s. But the reason DraftKings does well is they have these millionaire contests. Okay. People keep hearing about winning millions. People, it just has a different appeal. It's very hard for me to explain. But Sorare, it's like, yeah, I finished top 200. And sorry, last week, I forgot to mention this. I finished 201 in MLB.
Okay.
Which is out of any sort of reward. This is
out of how many? Like 2,000 or something like that?
People? How many people? There was almost 5,000 in that contest. Okay. I finished 201st.
Yeah.
Because of the Sunday night game where someone got like a strikeout and they knocked me out of the top 200. And well, listen, I was going to win a tier 5 limited anyways, or whatever the hell it was I was going to win. But to finish 201st out of 4,500 people, say, and not win anything, does not make me want to come back. I don't care. No, I don't care to invest more. Put it that way. I still set my lineups every week. I still play the game for fun. Just in case I finish first one time, I might as well set it. It's free for me. I have nothing to lose to set my lineups every week. But I don't religiously follow it. I'm never on the marketplace. I don't care anymore. And you're right. I think they never built on what they originally rolled out. Right? Like there's no collector experience or collector aspect that they've thrown in there. You remember you were collecting all the players from the same team. Like what came out of that? Absolutely nothing. Right?
I don't think they ever. I think that was like a cool interface thing they did. So I don't think they ever
they
promised anything with that. But so they're suggestive, and if anything, I suggested it. But I would say at this point, if you look at the season as a 7-game series, I would say that definitely, if the only thing that matters is how you finish, I'd say that Sorare is definitely blowing a bit of a 3-1 lead here. I think they were dominating. For a long time in terms of if you do look at it that way, which I don't think you necessarily need to, but if you want to look at it that way versus Top Shot, we can. And definitely the person running Sorare, who we've had on the show, Nicholas Julia, definitely thinks about it that way, because at one point he commented a famous tweet that he deleted that was like, all the Top Shot bag holders should come and try Sorare or something like that. He called them bag holders. So definitely some people think about it that way.
There's your upset person who spent 20,000-30,000 on Top
Shot. Maybe that line may have come at the turning point. Maybe that line was his version of I'm not worried about the West. That's basically what it said.
Well, the West is back. Sorry to break it to you, but the West is back. So
the West is back, and you know what? Like last week, Top Shot. Let's see how many buyers they had. 6,400 buyers. And last week, Sorare NBA had 1,500 buyers. So they're more than 4xing their buyers this past week, and crazy, have been they were very close at the start of April, right? Both in the mid 3,000s. Top Shot has doubled it, and Sorare has lost a lot of it because the playoffs are just incredibly hard, and also people can't use a lot of their cards in the playoffs, so a lot of the utility runs out. So it is a natural kind of timeline, I think, for Sorare. I think they know that, so as a result, I don't think they go too hard on playoffs, but and Top Shot obviously finding the first thing in a long time that works, right? So, but again, maybe blowing that 3-1 lead, who knows?
Well, it's like soccer on Sorare too. They've tried to appease people by having these like shop coins you can get. That's all I ever win. Like I play all the leagues every week, and I do well, but not well enough to win money. And I get these like shop coins, and in the shop, there's actually something called like, I don't know if it's memorabilia or merchandise or something, but it's always empty. There's nothing you can get in there, right? The other options are like screensavers, like background colors. I'm like, dude, what the hell do I want background colors for? Why would I spend all my coins I've made all year on background colors? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Merchandise is empty. There's nothing in there. So I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? I'm not buying a green background just to spend all my coins. Like, that's wild. Right? So I don't know. We'll see.
They got to ramp it up, man. I've always said their marketing is top notch, but they got to ramp it up in terms of rewards and listen. And again, I will say Sorare's main competitor is not Top Shot. It's DraftKings. That's the market they're trying to eat into. And following a similar format does work, but I think they have the opportunity to do something better and more special. And they're clearly struggling a little bit right now to do that. So,
well, I mean, DraftKings also a one-stop shop for every possible sport when it comes to playing these types of contests, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, exactly.
You've got it all there. You can even bet or not bet. You can even put lineups in for League of Legends and things like that. Like that's all the degenerates are staying there for that reason. Do you know what I mean? You do have an advantage on Sorare because you actually have to own that NFT to compete. It's not like a free for all. You can take anything you want. But they have a long way to go, man. Long way to go. Still enjoy it though. But I just feel like I'm not being rewarded for all the time I put into kind of, deciding lineups and stuff like that. So we'll see what they do.
Phil, I think that's probably a good time to call it. There's a lot of other things we could touch on, but I think that those are the kind of hottest issues this week, main stuff that's been on my mind. Like we didn't talk NFL draft. We didn't talk MLB code breakers or any of that kind of stuff, but NFL draft did not too many implications for NFTs anyways. And also MLB, we could probably touch on MLB next week. I got to explore this code breaker stuff, but I do want to wrap out and I do want to get to our hot take of the week.
Yes.
Which last week was about 90s sitcoms, had nothing to do with NFTs, or it had to do with NFTs. Which one would you want to see become an NFT? But had nothing to do with sports. But this week it is bang on sports, and it has nothing to do with NFTs. But it was, what team is now most likely to win the NBA championship and why? Phil, did you take a sneak peek at any of the answers?
Some of them, and I can tell people don't listen to the podcast that answer these things, a lot of them, because telling me that you think the Celtics will win because they're such a good team and Jason Tatum is the next big thing in the NBA, that puts me to sleep. Okay, that's not the answers I was looking for. There is one that really struck me, but I didn't have a chance to look at all of them. And LG, some breaking news: Joel Embiid is officially out for Game 1.
He's out. Yeah, I mean, I think we
knew that was.
I think that's pretty obvious.
Doubtful usually means 99% out. Darren Fox is actually the only doubtful guy I've ever seen play on that label. So So I did see one that I love, and I'm going to keep that one in my back pocket. But I did not get a chance to see a ton of them. So
let's take a quick look before we actually
find me something good. I just don't want to hear about the Warriors because they've won.
Embiid redemption is now down to $10.
Wow. Oh, people are going to undercut. Yeah, that's great.
Here we go. I'm going to buy one.
Well, yeah, because still, I mean,
buy one.
They still have some good players on that team. So I agree, man.
It's just one game. It's just one game, man. It's Celtics.
We all know Embiid is scared of the Celtics. So
until the Celtics, listen, this Celtics core definitely should and could and will win a championship. But until they do, I think it's really hard to be absolutely certain that they can win a series.
That's right.
So I think until, and then once they've won, like if this team wins this year, holy shit, watch out for the next couple of years, especially if Jaylen Brown sticks, or they find a way to keep Jaylen Brown, because they're going to rampage through everybody once they kind of find that confidence. But until they do, it's still a bit of a what if. So, all right, just bought myself a $10 Embiid moment, Phil. I put my money where my mouth is on that one. I've got myself a $10 Embiid. I'm going to keep an eye out for $9 very soon. Okay, back to the hot take. Let's see. So, what team is most likely to win the NBA championship? Miami. You can't have a hot take without a little heat. I like that. The Heat. Jimmy Butler is going to play with a wonky ankle, but still continue to dominate. Air ball threes or not. Okay, not a funny answer. It's Denver. They are the least respected 1 seed I can ever remember. Jokic and Murray tandem. Take it. Hot take because odds makers don't respect them. Boston and Golden State have better odds to win. No respect. The Warriors, so LG doesn't lose his bet and gets a free set of Dubs redemptions. LOL. Yes, thank you. I like
LG.
the energy.
That could be LG's pick, but unfortunately, LG's pick doesn't have any sort of prize.
Has no impact. So one person wrote just Denver, and then it's a GIF of Stone Cold, old Stone Cold, not old young Stone Cold, current Stone Cold, saying that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. One person wrote Maple Leafs and then put the GIF of Kevin Garnett saying anything is possible.
Okay, you're tugging at my heartstrings a little bit with that.
Somebody else said, who gives a mouse emoji, peach emoji? I think they're saying rat's ass, and then hashtag Leafs forever.
Yes, I love that one. I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love that. I saw that one come in on my screen this morning, and I actually laughed because this person did not for 1 second try and be funny at all. They just legit said that this is exactly how people in Toronto are feeling right now. It's kind of like, you know what? We were interested in the NBA a week ago because we knew the outcome of the Leafs. But because they did something they didn't do in 20 years now, fuck everything else that's going on. The Leafs are the shit all of a sudden. So we went from saying we hate the Leafs, fire everybody, worst team ever, sick of this franchise, burning my jersey, to holy shit, we made it past. We're in business, so fuck the rest of the world.
Especially after they lost game 5. We were up 3-1 and then they lost game 5, and we're so mad about it.
We were mad after allowing a goal all series. If we'd allowed the first goal, we were like furious, like going
fire Keefe immediately. Fire the coach.
Single game was like that.
You know, I will say, coach and GM on the Leafs did make an adjustment that everybody wanted to see, which was taking out Hall, who's a defenseman who was terrible and was clearly a key player on two goals from the Lightning in game 5. And replaced him. So that was they did do a good move. I have to give him credit.
If they bring him back for game 1 tomorrow, you better believe this fan base will be ready to absolutely destroy.
If you see him at any point in the next ever again on the Leafs, then we'll snap. Okay, we got to keep going. Next answer. Lakers, because the last time LG tried to make a great Top Shot prediction, he sold his Cool Cat set at the perfectly wrong time. And then it's a screenshot from me posting in our Discord, tagging Sam J that I made the bet with, asking if he watched any basketball today. Next one.
That's good. I like that one.
Next one. Gotta go with the Bruins. Okay.
Man, we need to do this live one time where people give their answers, guys. I just want to be like, you know where you can hang up on someone when they call on the radio and their answer is so dumb, the radio jockey just hits the hang up button. He's like, next. I want to do that.
Okay, there's a bunch of other ones, but they're all like real ones that have like real reasons.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of them. So I am 100. Yeah, I've already made my decision, LG. We don't even have to go crazy.
I was gonna go. Let's see. Let's just see if there's any other.
If you blow me away with something here, I'm gonna change my mind. But
one person just wrote Warriors. Like,
okay.
Hold on, wait. Let me just see if there's any other good ones.
Keep that one for a final.
I like Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown will be the reason. #NBA. And they wrote Jalen instead of an E, they put an O. So Jaylon.
Honestly,
okay. Which one's your pick? Just tell me your pick.
Just because the Toronto Maple Leafs won, and that is exactly the sentiment around this entire. I'm going with I don't give a rat's ass.
Oh,
100%.
KJ, that's 100%. From KJ.
We will only care about the NBA playoffs once the Leafs disappoint us again at some point in the next couple of weeks and go crashing out of the playoffs. We'll be dialed right back in. But that is 100%.
I still care about the NBA playoffs, definitely. But as a number 2 right now, you know, it's like I've barely been I just haven't known what the Leafs in the second round even feels like. So I don't know. But hey, it is nice to have something to watch after the Leafs game. Like tomorrow, Leafs first game of the night, and then after that, Warriors Lakers. You can watch right after. So it's not a bad night for sports, right? And
Congrats,
I think it'll be matched
KJ.
up through this.
For being yourself, because that's exactly how KJ talks in real life.
And then Lorax responded to that with "I'm dead," and it's a gif of a llama rolling around in the dirt.
I just have to give a shout out to Lorax. He actually says that he bets on sports based on my like angry tweets under teams' posts. So when I like destroy the Leafs after a game, he knows to like not take the Leafs at all in that series because he's just like everything you say is real, and he's mentioned that many times. So yeah, congrats, KJ. Great reply. If you're listening, hit us up and you can claim your price.
Phil, very last thing to close us out. What is the Leafs will have 3 playoff games between now and our podcast next week. Yeah. What will be the score of that series come next Monday? Against I'm going
to come up with a really, really wild prediction. I will say 3-0 Leafs.
Wow.
With the chance to sweep. All right. So,
oh wow, they've got Bobrovsky over there, Phil. They've got Bobrovsky.
A week ago, I was planning a trip downtown to start a riot once we lose another series. Okay. Here we are a week later. I'm trying to figure out if I can go to Miami at any point in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was thinking about that.
But hey, listen, all the Greeks are going back to Miami. The Greeks in Toronto have an obsession with the Leafs. To the point where when we were partying downtown, there was one car with all Greek flags. I'm just like, I don't understand. Are these the only flags you guys have? Is that why you're flying them?
I mean, they're blue and white, right? So,
there's also a Greek old guy that went viral for his reaction to them winning Game 4.
I saw overtime. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and he went on every show in Toronto after that. So I do think that the Leafs, now that they got over the hump, their confidence levels are going to be next level. And if we're matching up talent for talent, the Leafs should destroy the Florida Panthers. They really should. But unfortunately, something that, just to wrap it up, something that Tampa stopped doing, that if I was coaching the Tampa Bay Lightning, I would have changed, is I would have kept all the assholes on the Lightning being assholes. Corey Perry completely vanished after like the first 2 games. The Leafs don't like to be bothered by mean guys. Okay, they're not a mean team. They're a nice team.
No, they're nice.
They've had a culture built there where you're not allowed to be mean to anybody. Probably not allowed to swear. Who knows? Okay. So when you have a bunch of pricks on the other team, you're in big trouble for the Leafs. Now, the Florida Panthers have one of the biggest pricks in the league in Matthew Tkachuk, who also happens to be one of the best players.
He's also a good player. He's also a really good player.
He's a guy that you hate, but you would die to have on your team, and you'd give up a bunch of first rounders for him. They also have a guy by the name of Radko Gudas that if anybody has not heard of this guy, please watch this series and watch all the dirty shit he pulls off. I guarantee you there will be suspensions in this series based on this guy and his actions. And I guarantee you that that his havoc will bother the Leafs more often than not.
So maybe we'll see some Wayne Simmons in the series.
Wayne Simmons is a nice guy now. So yeah, maybe. The only thing I want from Wayne Simmons, I want Wayne Simmons to pull Austin Matthews aside and show him how to, first of all, drop your gloves when someone drops your gloves. Keep them on. And second of all, how to actually like throw a punch. Austin, you're a gigantic dude. The guys like Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin, when they came in the league, guys were trying to kill them season 1, and both of them dropped their gloves season 1 to say, you're not going to fuck with me, okay? At all, ever. And this is what I'm going to do to you if you want to fool around.
Crosby fought a lot early in his career.
Ovechkin's fought a lot.
He got picked on, and Ovechkin's tall.
Bedard.
Ovechkin's like 6'2", but Crosby's like 5'10", and he fought a lot. But you're right. Austin Matthews is 6'3".
Like, dude,
and 205 pounds.
I'm dying for him to get back.
You can fight people. Like you can hit people, and you can use your body. So
I am absolutely dying for him to just get really mad one time and do that. So
let's see it.
We'll see. I think 3-0 series lead. I think we take both games here, and then I think we take the game in Florida. And we will actually be on the verge when we record this show next week. I believe Game 4 is Monday. We will be on the verge of a playoff sweep to now be within 8 wins away from winning the Stanley Cup.
Put Lorax, if you're listening, put some money on it, pal. Like your old friend Phil.
Don't listen to what I said last week.
All right, Phil. Thanks for the good wishes. I like where your head's at, and thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you guys. We'll see if it's true, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.